5.5.
Following program is paid for and presented by John DeMasi. The opinions expressed are not those of Town Square Media or station advertisers.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
What a difference a week makes. Last week, remember? We were snowed in. Winter wonderland. Now, this week we have spring. You never know what you're going to get. Sort of like this show. Good morning and welcome to another edition of Talk with a Purpose. Every Saturday, 9 till noon, right here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Also heard on 1450 AM and always online at WPGTalkRadio.com. Many, many ways to listen. I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us. And as always, we don't have a lot to talk about, do we? It might be all Trump all the time today. Who knows? 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio, 609-407-1450. And at any time during the course of the show, if you want to just jump in here and participate, feel free to do so, 609-407-1450. 11 o'clock this morning, we will have perhaps, and he was having second thoughts this week. That's another story. Joe Yakovich, he will be here to discuss our finances with us. He's got a seminar coming up, so we're going to talk about that as well. So a lot to talk about here this morning. And again, the number here in the studio, 609-407-1450. Before I get into what I want to talk about, what did you think of the E. Jean Carroll verdict? $83 million? Was she damaged that much? $83 million? Because he said a couple things about her? You know, these things have a way of kind of settling themselves. And I got news for you. A friend of mine many years ago, he got sued by somebody, and the verdict was $3.5 million. And at that time, $3.5 million to him was like $200 billion. You know, it was like an enormous figure. And what they did was they whittled it down, they negotiated it, they settled, and they ended up, even then, $500,000. They settled for that. Now, that's in one case. Now, in the other case, if you remember, and how could you forget this, the O.J. Simpson case? O.J. Simpson won the trial, the criminal trial, of course. He was found not guilty. But he lost the civil trial. And I believe the verdict there was he had to pay, I think it was $35 million. $35 million. You know how much the family got? $0. Because his assets were in protected vehicles, like a pension. That was his NFL pension, 30-some thousand a month or whatever. So the Goldman family never got anything. So, you know, this thing about $83 million, you know, with all the Trump lawyers, they're going to appeal. But the verdict, I think, it was excessive. I mean, it was really excessive. $83 million for an incident, and he defamed her or whatever. You know, this is ridiculous. So we'll see. Keep your eye on that. But mark my words, E. Jean Carroll will probably get, if anything, very little, and maybe she'll get nothing at all. So we'll see. But what I wanted to talk about, and I started the year off, I started the first show this year saying that maybe changes will come. It's a new year, new thing. And as we get into the year, and we're approaching February now, it appears that the more things change, the more they stay the same. Going to hit on a couple of points for you here. First, did you happen to see the TV ads for Joe Biden? The whole ad is really concentrating on abortion. Yeah, there's that word again. In the ad, and I'm going to paraphrase here, the woman in the ad says something like, Donald Trump overturned Roe v. Wade. Now women can't get abortions. Did you notice how that was focused on Trump? First of all, Trump didn't overturn Roe v. Wade. We all know that. The Supreme Court did. So they're trying to blame Trump. If it snows in February, it's Trump's fault. That's got to be. But the thing is, there's that theme again, which worked for the Democrats in the midterm election in 2022. And also the fear of a Trump presidency. So it's more of the same, and we're going to look at maybe Trump counterpunching or maybe pivoting to something else, but I don't see that yet. But anyway, Biden launched a nationwide push last week centered on the 51st anniversary of Roe v. Wade. His campaign manager, Julie Chavez Rodriguez, said, a vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is a vote to restore Roe, and a vote for Donald Trump is a vote to ban abortion across the country. There you go. There's the statement. Here we go again. Abortion is a key issue for Democrats in this race. Probably because if they kind of took on anything else, what could they say about their stance on immigration and inflation? No good. But that's what I'm saying here, that there's other issues, illegal immigration, inflation, inability to get a decent rate on a mortgage. And you know, I just bought my car out, and they said, well, you know, you have good credit here. What's the rate? 7.89%. I said, what did the people with bad credit get? 23%. So forget that. But do you see what I'm saying? Like everything that Biden did, we're affected by it now. Mortgage rates, interest rates, everything. Everything stems from high inflation. So the other thing that, Biden has really, they are commenting on Biden's age. The Republicans don't really have a strategy. So again, I'm wondering, maybe they better get one. Something like maybe just coming out and saying, we don't want to end abortion forever. I mean, if there's a life and death situation, certainly we'll have that into consideration. But instead, they just go along with this flow of, oh, boy, the Republicans, if they get in, they're going to take away everything. And again, that fear of a Trump presidency and abortion and anything else that you want to throw in, that's what they're banking on. I just don't know. But one more thing on the Trump and November election. If you looked at the numbers from the New Hampshire primary, of course, Trump won, and he won handily. But you will see that Trump performed poorly with independents and college-educated voters. Now, these two groups are a key, I feel, to winning the election, especially in Pennsylvania, another key state. Trump is showing some sign of weakness. All this stuff about, he's ahead in the polls and he's going to win. And yeah, that's fine to feel that way. But you got to make sure that your house is in order. Exit polls in New Hampshire showed 6 out of 10 independents voted for Nikki Haley. Does this indicate a Trump weakness? I don't know, but it's a concern. But Trump better get some answers if he wants to be assured of victory, and that's kind of our theme today. 609-407-1450, that's our number here in the studio. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. And now, without further ado, we have the one and only Seth Grossman from Liberty and Prosperity. Seth, what's on your mind this morning?
Oh, a whole lot of things. Anyone coming to the meeting of Liberty and Prosperity on Saturday morning, today, if you're listening on Saturday, it was yesterday if you're listening Sunday afternoon, we're asking the people who come to do a little multitasking. Besides having a regular breakfast discussion on the topics of the day, we're asking you to keep your hands busy stuffing envelopes and putting address labels on them so we could send our invitation to the fundraiser coming up on February 17th. Our guest speaker will be Craig Calloway, and for whatever you say about him, he's one of the most successful and sought-after grassroots election workers in America. He started doing this in the early 1990s, doing what most ward leaders in Atlantic City had done since the days of Nucky Johnson. Every election cycle, Craig Calloway would go door to door in the neighborhood, talk to each voter, register anyone who was new, notice which voters died or moved away, and on election day, he would bring to the polls everyone who supported his candidates. But then, in the late 1990s, Craig Calloway noticed that there were new laws in court cases that no longer required medical affidavits to get people to vote by mail or through messenger. So he would boost voter turnout dramatically by getting thousands of voters who supported his candidates to use mail-in ballots and messenger ballots, so they all voted long before Election Day. And that's how Calloway unseated incumbent Mayor Jim Whalen in 2001 and put in Democrat Lorenzo Langford. And what he did attracted national attention. So in 2004, Craig Calloway was hired by John Kerry, the Democratic candidate for president, against Bush, and Calloway went around the country teaching his methods to the Democrats there. So he's going to be our speaker, and I think it's going to be very, very interesting. Whatever you think about Craig or whatever you think about Democrats, he has a lot to teach.
Well, I know that he certainly is a controversial figure, but he's effective, that's for sure.
And he's a worker.
Yeah, whenever somebody hires him, I mean, Amy Kennedy, she hired him for the primary, she won, then she didn't hire him, which didn't make any sense, but that's another story.
Exactly, and the next thing, of course, which no one's really talking about, is America is slowly drifting into a second civil war. If you look at the Constitution, it says that no state without the consent of Congress shall enter into any agreement or compact with another state or engage in war unless actually invaded or in imminent danger that will not admit delay. That's what the Constitution says. So is Texas being invaded? And I think the key legal and constitutional question is that if you could call a riot at the Capitol on January 6th an insurrection, it's very easy to call 10 million people coming illegally into America, especially through Texas, an invasion. So Governor Abbott of Texas is setting up barriers to keep invaders from crossing into Texas. And Governor DeSantis of Florida is offering to send the Florida National Guard to the Texas border. And you have 24 Republican governors are pledging to support Florida and Texas. We haven't seen anything like this since the beginning of the Civil War in 1860. You would think we all be talking about that, right?
Yeah.
But we're not. We're talking about a New York jury awards Jean Carroll $83 million in the second defamation case on top of a $5 million award she got from a previous lawsuit in 2019. So who benefits from distracting Americans from probably the most important issue since the Civil War? So I guess we have to talk about, the Trump's Jean Carroll case. So how do we get there? And I'm talking as a lawyer and as someone who has advised political leaders. Well, we got there because back in 2019, when Trump is getting a run for re-election, the Democrats do what they always do. They wanted to stir up a political issue that Donald Trump hates women. And so you had a string of women would come out and say that Trump had sexually abused them at some time during the 1990s. Remember that?
Yes.
And one of them, of course, was Jean Carroll, who was a nobody. And she wrote an article in an obscure New York magazine or publication that, that said that during the 1995 or 1996, she had been sexually assaulted by Donald Trump. And, of course, Trump had various ways to respond to it. Now, of course, the way he responded to it was he's saying she's a liar, she's a nut job, I never did anything like that, she's making the whole thing up, and besides, she's ugly and she's not my type. That's what Trump said, remember?
Yes, I remember.
Now, in a normal situation, with a normal leader, what would happen? What would happen is you would not respond, the leader would not respond in any way unless talking it over with some advisors, including some lawyers. And what would any advisor or lawyer say to Donald Trump if Trump said, well, this is the story. I know that, Jean Carroll, she's a nut job. I'm going to tell the truth about her. Well, the problem that,
they would tell you, keep your mouth shut.
Well, and they'd also say something like this. They'd say, Mr. President, remember the Access Hollywood tapes where you're on tape bragging about doing exactly what Jean Carroll is accusing you of doing? So I'd be a little careful about doing that. And when you say she's ugly and she's not my type, look at her photograph from 1995. She had the identical appearance of your previous wife, of Ivana Trump. So be careful. And if you're going to call her a liar, you're going to be in a courtroom and you're going to be on equal footing. She's going to call you a liar. So why not think of a better way to explain this? And there were so many easy ways that Trump could have explained it. He could have said, look, this happened, 30 years ago. Maybe I did or said something inappropriate. I don't remember doing anything. There's so many ways he could have avoided any lawsuit just by thinking before he talked. But he didn't. So either Trump ignored the advice of his advisors or Trump chooses to surround himself with people who only tell him what he wants to hear. And this has been a problem in so many different areas of his life. And the other thing that did Trump in on this case, once he was in the middle of the case, is something called depositions. I don't know if you or many of your listeners have ever been involved in depositions, but that's when your testimony is taken under oath, and usually with a video camera, months before the trial to get your testimony. And I admit I'm not a skilled trial lawyer like Paul D'Amato or Tom Vesper or John Zarich. But, every competent lawyer knows that when your client is going through depositions, you have to prepare the client for the deposition. And the first thing you tell the client is, this is not the time to tell your story. Because you could give perfect testimony for 3 or 4 hours. And if you just say one 2-minute thing that's careless or stupid, they're going to forget the 3 hours of good testimony and only use the 2 minutes that you screw up. So it's so important when you attend a deposition and you're a witness that you only directly answer the question and you don't, ramble on and just, tell what you think is your story. And not only do we tell our clients this before depositions, most lawyers have a video that we make our clients watch before the depositions. And we give written instructions before the depositions, and you say it over and over again. This is not the time to tell a story. This is not a time to ramble on. Just answer the question. Now, of course, if you're taking the testimony of the other party to the lawsuit, you do everything you can to provoke the witness on the other side into just getting so angry they'll just ramble on and on and on. And that's exactly what they did to Trump. And he fell for the bait. He rambled on and on and on. And most of the testimony that inflamed the jury against Donald Trump was that testimony at the deposition. So, either, again, Trump got himself lawyers that were either not competent or he had competent lawyers and he just didn't listen to the advice. Because, again, this is not rocket science. This is any lawyer who comes out of law school knows how to do this. And I bet you that the Donald Trump deposition testimony will be almost standard textbook material in every single law school around the country.
Yeah, they'll use him as a teaching moment, that's for sure.
Right. But let me quickly get back to immigration. One of the things we posted on our libertyandprosperity.com website are 10 immigration talking points that nobody talks about. And so I'm not going to go through them all now, but just a couple of them. People forget that America never, ever had the mass immigration before that we have today. I think we have something like 30 to 40% of the country was not born here. No country has survived with an invasion like that. But I think one of the other things that no one talks about is the great American middle class. America for years had the highest paid and most productive workers in the world. And why do we have that? The unions say, oh, yeah, it's because we had unions. No, the unions had nothing to do with it. The reason we had so much prosperity was we had low taxes, limited government, and the 1920 limits to immigration. See, we never had mass immigration in America before because when you had old sailing ships, it wasn't possible. However, when the new technology of big steamships after the Civil War started mass immigration, there was a national debate, and Americans in 1920 overwhelmingly said, this is not sustainable. We're going to make a law that limits immigration to 100,000 new immigrants each year. And that allows a shortage of unskilled labor. The industries had to invest in and invent new machinery to make Americans the most productive workers in the world. In the 1920s, when this happened, unions were very weak and ineffective. They had nothing to do with it. The second big myth is a lot of, especially Jews, are saying, well, wait a minute, the immigration limits created the Holocaust. They wouldn't let Jews who wanted to get out of Nazi Germany come to America. And that's another lie, because there were many quotas that were open for Jews that wanted to get out of Nazi Germany and come to America. But Democratic President Franklin Roosevelt hired a bunch of anti-Semites to fill the State Department, and they deliberately denied Jews from coming to America, even though the immigration laws allowed tens of thousands of Jews to come here. That's something they don't want to talk about. And another little detail is the Statue of Liberty was not built to welcome immigrants. The Statue of Liberty was built by people of France to say, America is, thank you, America, for showing us how a liberty and equal opportunity can create a safe and prosperous country. And we're not asking that everyone come to America. We can have the American prosperity in our own country if we have a constitution and the same culture just like America has. So that's a big myth about immigration. We got to talk about that more often.
Yeah, we do. And what is the administration going to do? Or I'm talking about Biden. Do you know what they're going to do about this, or they're just going to continue with status quo?
Well, what they'll do is at some point they'll stop the immigration, because it's not sustainable. Even in the black Democrats in Chicago are getting arrested for trying to block illegal immigrants from coming there. So eventually they'll stop it, but we have to go one step further and reverse it by appointing law enforcement officers and hearing officers and rounding up people and having hearings and deporting them. And that goes against the very nature of tolerant Christian America. But we have to say which is more important, trying to be compassionate to people who broke the law, or turn our own children and grandchildren into a minority that's going to be as persecuted as the French were in Algeria and whites are in South Africa. So we have to have a serious conversation. I just have time for just two more points. India Republic Day was celebrated last week by Hindus dedicating a new Hindu temple in India. And, of course, all the leftist media denounced India for doing that. But when you realize that we are under attack by this jihadi cult of Islam that is not just going against the Jews in Israel, but going against Christians in Israel, Hindus in India, and Christians are being murdered throughout the Middle East, through Africa, and even in the Philippines. Yet Christians are doing nothing to fight back. And it's refreshing to see that at least the Hindus are joining the Jews in fighting back. And that leads to the final point. There was a very significant event in Margate yesterday. The Jewish Community Center had a 30-year-old, executive of an internet tech company who's also the commander of a Special Forces Reserve unit in the Israeli Army, gave a riveting presentation about what's going on. And he also pointed out that what's going on in Israel is not Jews against Arabs, it's not Israel against Palestine, it's this jihadi cult of Islam, the Wahhabis I talked about last week, that are on this worldwide jihad against all Christians, all Jews, all Hindus, all Sikhs, all Buddhists around the world. And he said, we've got to mobilize to stop them because we're losing this war. And what was interesting about it is the Anti-Defamation League, which has always blamed all the anti-Semitism on right-wing extremists and white supremacists, never, ever invited me to any local event here in Atlantic County. And for the first time, the ADL leader invited me to attend the event yesterday. And something even more significant, when I ran for Congress 5 years ago, a member of my synagogue published a letter, falsely accused me of being a bigot and a racist. And at the event yesterday, the guy's wife made a point of coming to my table and apologizing for calling me that 5 years ago. So maybe people are waking up. Anyway, it's time to go to Liberty and Prosperity meeting, where besides talking about all these events and the stuff we didn't get to, stuffing envelopes to invite people to hear Craig Calloway speak on February 17th. Tickets are $75. You could pay online or sending a check to our Summers Point office. Have a great week.
Okay, Seth, thank you. Seth Grossman, Liberty and Prosperity, the website libertyandprosperity.com. The meeting's starting right now, 9:30 at Sal's Coal Fire Pizza in Summers Point. I'm John DeMasi. More Talk with a Purpose. We'll talk to Craig and Andy and maybe you at 609-407-1450 after these words.
Joe Yakovich is registered with and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company. When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com.
And we are back here on Talk with a Purpose. Again, the number here in the studio, 609-407-1450. Let's get started with Craig in Northfield. Craig, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Well, good morning, John.
Good morning, sir.
I'm so glad to come on after Seth. 83 million appealed. She gave the dress away, which was evidence.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She said on CNN that women fantasize about being raped.
Really?
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah, they went to commercial right away.
Oh, geez.
Because that didn't work out for their narrative.
That's right. That's right.
So, Seth, I just want to tell you something. When he said that, that's because the leader of the free world never, ever cowards. Do you understand that, John?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so what would he be doing? Because it's already been proven that what she said he didn't do. Okay? That there's no DNA. There's no video of Donald Trump even being there. So, as far as the evidence goes, it's his mouth, I agree. But you know what? Any man that was accused of that has a family and a wife and has to come home to that, I would probably say something like that, too, about her.
Yeah, well, that's true, but,
right?
I think the whole verdict, though, was ridiculous. I mean,
well, the judge is ridiculous.
83 million for what?
No, the judge, did you hear what the judge said?
No, I didn't hear that, no.
I'm not going to say. But people, you can go back and listen to Harry Hurley. He said what she said, but I might get bleeped off a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, this week, oh my God, inflation. I got an insurance notice that my car insurance is going up 23%.
Oh, it's all over. It's all over.
But let me ask you a question. I thought we had inflation under control.
Not when it comes to car insurance.
Okay. Well, you better get ready because you saw yesterday, with Texas and everything else, Joe Biden just halted in the Gulf natural gas exploration.
Good, thank you.
Stopped it.
I got you number 3 here. Hang on.
Right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. And then John, remember I said World War III? Did you notice 2 days ago the British ship got fired upon and got hit?
Yeah.
And then what? Our ship had to come over there and help a British distraught ship that's on fire in the Red Sea. Remember I said
Yeah,
that?
I know. I remember. Yes.
I remember, and you were like, oh, geez. So, and the FBI with this stuff, it is 24 states that are supporting Texas, and including Texas, that would make 25 states. So we actually, and that includes Hawaii. Isn't that a shock? After they got burnt down, they woke up.
Yeah.
But, that's 25 states. That's half of our country.
Right.
That's half of our country.
Right.
Okay. And the FBI said what this week about all those people coming across? The FBI.
I didn't hear that. What did they say? I'm sure it was memorable.
Oh, it is. They said something horrible is imminent from these nationals coming across our border because they basically said what Donald Trump said. They're sending their worst.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we swing over to Hunter again? We got that He's going over there into the bunker there to be interviewed. What do you think he's going to say to them, John?
I have no idea, but I'm sure he could write a couple of books and fill them up.
Well, he's not going to say anything. You know, I got to tell you something. The Republican Party, we watch every time, get schnooked.
Yep.
So they put Navarro in jail for 4 months, right?
Yeah. I
Okay,
saw
but
that,
what happened to Hunter?
Nothing.
Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Schnooked.
So, yeah.
Get some guys. You got to get some brass ones and start. And our congressman, I love you, Mr. Van Drew, but please. And I know you are a charger. You're a true patriot. You have to be stronger. You know what? They put somebody who was working for the president in jail because he felt that he had presidential pardon, or well, not pardon, but escapes him from giving out that information.
Yeah.
Which, you know, he was stupid because he didn't lawyer up properly. But, you know, what are you going to do? But Hunter's going to plead the fifth. You understand?
Yeah.
The whole time. So
sure.
He's not going to say anything.
That's right.
Okay? And then, so when we go back to New Hampshire, you know, Seth, you talked about all those independents. Nikki spent $34 million in New Hampshire.
Wow.
How much did Donald Trump spend?
Probably less than half of that.
Well, 5. One state. Not even 20%.
That's right.
Okay? And look at the bang he got.
Yes.
So what happened? McConnell said Trump is the nominee. And then the RNC chairwoman, she said what? Trump's the nominee.
Same thing. Yeah.
And then Donald Trump said, whoa, I don't want to win by being crowned. That's not what we have in our democracy. He goes, I will go through the process like everybody else. And when we talk about the process down there in Fulton County, oh my God!
Oh, boy, that's gonna blow up in her face. Believe me.
You think?
Yeah.
Now, should we go through that a little bit? Because
well, actually, can
we be real quick?
Can you wrap it up in about a minute?
A minute. 4 to the guy that she hired is her boyfriend, allegedly. 4 to 6 times, he's getting in salaries.
Yes.
And they're saying that if she gets disqualified and the office gets disqualified from doing the case, where are we at with all that? And how about those other people that they put, may pay and were guilty? Do they get off?
I don't know, but it sure seems like they will.
Talk about your money. And so you remember we talked last time, Donald Trump said no to central digital currency. So you got your boy coming on later. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Craig, thanks for the call. Good stuff. 609-407-1450. That's the number in the studio. We have Andy, we have John, and then we have Greg and maybe you at 609-407-1450. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG, Talk Radio 95.5, and I'm John DeMasi. We are coming back with plenty more Talk with a Purpose after we talk about, well, there's no controversy here. B.F. Mazzeo, the finest fresh fruit and produce you will find anywhere. And I always tell you, you go to B.F. Mazzeo and you just kind of have to go around slow. If you have the time, you go around slow and you just look up and down because you'll see things. I see things and I say, I don't even know what that is, but obviously people use it, people buy it. Many, many, many gourmet items are at B.F. Mazzeo. And let's face it, it's a relatively small store, but they pack it in. B.F. Mazzeo, the finest fresh fruit and produce you'll find anywhere, online at bfmazzeo.com. And we're getting close to the big game, which is another way of saying Super Bowl. We're not allowed to say that yet. We haven't paid the NFL to be able to say Super Bowl. So, but anyway, if you're having a gathering, if you're having a party, whatever you're having, a lot of people do that. And B.F. Mazzeo can really help you out with plenty of side dishes. They have catering, and there's a brochure there in the store that explains to you what they'll do. I mean, they have one customer every week. She gets 4 pounds of potato salad made a special way, and they make it for her. So they can customize things according to your specifications. So do that for yourself and make your life easier when it comes to entertaining. BF Mazzio, again online, bfmazzio.com, bfmazzio.com. There are weekly specials. Sign up for the text message at 855-910-1246. You'll get all kinds of text messages and a coupon. It's just an unbelievable experience. BF Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield, and again online at bfmazzio.com. We're coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently #1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. Or, if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. You're invited to attend a very important and informative seminar Tuesday, February 6th and Tuesday, February 13th at 6 p.m. at the Stockton University Campus Center Meeting Room 5. The seminar will feature Joe Yankovich, host of The Heart of Your Money, heard right here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Joe will discuss tax management and income strategies in retirement, and of course, will answer any and all of your questions. Stay informed and up to date. Attend this important seminar Tuesday, February 6th and Tuesday, February 13th at 6 p.m. at the Stockton University Campus Center, Meeting Room 5. You can register online. Simply go to jmlfinancialgroup.com and click on the link. See you at the seminar.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. Dense fog advisory in effect until 10 this morning. Once the fog burns off, a thick cloud cover for today with a high of 52. Cloudy tonight, becoming rainy, low 40. Breezy with rain tomorrow with a high of 48. Monday will kick off the week. A little snow and rain early in the morning, otherwise mostly cloudy and breezy, high 45. For AccuWeather, I'm Cheryl Golden on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
If you would like to email me during the week, as always, JDAD, V as in Victor, number 1, at Comcast.net. JDADV1 at Comcast.net. Do get a lot of emails, and certainly we take them all in, and we take all of your thoughts and whatever you'd like to hear or program direction, and we'll take it all on. JDADV1 at Comcast.net. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Let's talk to Andy in Brigantine. Andy, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, John. It's a great day in Brigantine.
Yes, it is.
So, a quote from Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh said that Democrats don't fix problems. Democrats create problems so that they can then run on fixing the very problems that they themselves created.
Amen to that.
And there's nothing more illustrative of this than the situation at the border. Now, virtually no problems at the border when Donald Trump was in power.
Right.
Yeah, there were people coming in, but it's exponentially worse. For 3 years plus now, for 3 years, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Karine Jean-Pierre, and Alejandro Maes have insisted have insisted that the border is secure, the border is secure, the border is secure, even though we look at the video on TV and we can all see that the border is not secure. But they've insisted it is secure. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, here we are in an election year, and all of a sudden, all of these same people who insisted the border was secure are now calling it a crisis and are blaming it on Republicans, just like Rush Limbaugh said.
Yeah.
Now, Joe Biden had the power to fix this problem, which wasn't a problem when he took office. He created the problem by opening up the borders.
Yeah.
And now Joe Biden is running on fixing the very problem that he created, like Rush Limbaugh said. So,
it's amazing, isn't it?
All of this talk about this bill, this border bill, is a dog and pony show. It is unnecessary. All that has to happen is that Joe Biden has to start enforcing existing immigration law, and this problem would go away.
Yes.
Now, they're all blaming the Republicans now. So, and I'm going to blame the Republicans to this extent. Seth Grossman read Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution, which demonstrates that Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, is well within his rights to do what he's doing because his state is being invaded. Okay? That article and section of the Constitution has existed since 1787, which means it existed for every day of Greg Abbott's tenure as governor of Texas. So why did Governor Abbott wait until the election season to start doing this? Well, I would say that's political, too. He wants to make Biden and the Democrats look bad by now bringing this issue to the full light of day.
Right.
And all of these Republican governors now, 25 of them, have come out and publicly endorsing Abbott. Where were they all of this time? Greg Abbott could have done this 3 years ago, but they let this problem fester so that they could use it as an issue during the election year. And meanwhile, we have 6 million more new illegals in this country, terrorists, the worst people in the world. If they shut the border today, where not another single person was able to get through, it wouldn't matter because the people are already here. They have fundamentally transformed the country. We have terrorists, we have human traffickers, we have child traffickers, sex traffickers, drug dealers, cartels, Chinese nationals. You know, we are setting the stage, and there is going to be a coordinated attack. You're going to see it happen in multiple cities simultaneously. Once they get the phone call one day, it's going to happen. Now, they're saying that the Republicans, won't pass a bill, Well, the Republicans put forth H.R. 2, okay, but the Senate wouldn't even bring it up for a vote. It's sitting there rotting, okay? So it isn't like the Republicans haven't proposed legislation. But again, I say, there's no legislation necessary. All they have to do is follow the existing immigration laws. So Joe Biden created this problem.
Yes, he did.
3 years ago.
Yes, he did.
So that he can now he's running on fixing the problem that he has denied.
Created. Yes. He created it. Andy, thanks a lot for the call. Yeah. Hey, that's it in a nutshell. That's the Democratic playbook. Well, I hope it don't work this time. That's for sure. Well, if we can help it, we'll do all we can in our power to do that, to elect Donald Trump as president. John, Greg, Dan, maybe we'll get to Dan after 10 o'clock, but those are the calls waiting. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hour number 1 rapidly coming to a close. And we'll talk about a lot of these things in hour number 2 as well. I'm John DeMasi. Final thoughts in hour number 1 after these words.
When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. Joe Yakovich is registered with and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. Member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, we continue with the calls, and we're going to talk to John in Ocean City. John, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Yes, good morning. Here's a quote that I've attributed to Abraham Lincoln on more than one occasion. The forming of the Republican Party would prove to be the death knell to the institution of slavery. So I put that in the Google search engine and came up with this. Abraham Lincoln did not declare that the forming of the Republican Party would prove to be the death knell to the institution of slavery. However, he was a strong advocate for the abolition of slavery. Now, I don't believe that was put in there to rebut little old me. I'm not that paranoid or narcissistic to believe it. That was already posted. So I just repeated something that was already posted. Okay, that's not exactly correct, but this is part of the National Constitution Center, so it has some juice to it, you might say. This is the South Carolina's Declaration of Secession, and they're explaining why. Many northern states refuse to enforce the Fugitive Slave Act, and many of these states have also passed personal liberty laws that make it harder to retrieve alleged fugitives, and thereby they've breached their obligations to uphold. They've breached their obligations to uphold the Constitution. Also, America's election of Abraham Lincoln and an anti-slavery president, and also the anti-slavery party of the called the Republican Party will make things worse. Will make things worse. I'm kind of like not going verbatim necessarily, but there's this constant reminder that the Constitution's been breached because of this Republican Party and this anti-slavery president Abraham Lincoln. However, here's the act prohibiting importation of slaves. It was passed by the U.S. Congress on March 2nd, 1807, and signed into law by President Thomas Jefferson. The act prohibited the importation of slaves into the United States by any port or place within the jurisdiction of the United States, effective January 1, 1808. Now, here's some further information about South Carolina. The act of prohibiting importation of slaves was a United States federal law that prohibited the importation of slaves into the United States, effective from January 1, 1808. However, South Carolina continued to allow the Atlantic slave trade despite the ban. So here we have the Democrat Party up to their dirty tricks all the way back. Not only do they create problems and then come with the solution to the problems when they're the ones that caused it to begin with, but they only bring up the Constitution when it serves their purpose. But here's a major breaching of the Constitution. It was voted into federal law by Thomas Jefferson. That's that. I'm going to use this as a segue to talk about abortion. Abolition was the primary focus of attention back in those days. Now, the primary attention is being focused on abortion. Now, if you want to go ahead and make it a non-issue, I guarantee you the Democrats will never make it a non-issue. Now, if you want to go ahead and make it a non-issue regarding when a person can have an abortion, we won't go there because of this guy's elected again, or if Gavin Newsom's elected. We're not going to have any chance anyway for any anti-abortion rights or pro-life rights. But we can stand our ground on these issues. For one, there are centers that help women pregnant. There are Christian-based centers that help pregnant women out that don't want to abort their babies. They give them financial aid, and they help raise the child. The single mother, they help the single mother raise the child. Now it's because Roe v. Wade was overturned. It's called Jane's Revenge. It's an it's an anti-life, actually pro-abortion group that burned these centers down. We have to bring attention to that. We have to, and also it's real funny that African Americans, Jews, and Catholics will vote Democrat when the Ku Klux Klan, and that's the Democrat Party is the party of the Klan, hated Catholics, Jews, and blacks. Okay, so that's just real strange. That shows you the propaganda has been very effective. But I want to say, we can bring it to the attention of African Americans. The Planned Parenthood actually focuses on the black communities for abortions. That would be a fact. And also, whenever the Democrat Party wants to bring up abortion, the issue of abortion, how we want to take away a woman's right to kill their own baby, what the Republicans should do that are anti-abortion should on the floor bring up blown up photos of babies being destroyed within their wombs. So we can do that much, but to make it a non-issue is a mistake, I think. And also because we had a civil war because of abolition. Now we're going to have a civil war according to abortion, then it is what it is. But we cannot make it a non-issue. That's what I wanted to say. Thanks for letting me call in.
Thanks, John. Thanks for the call. You know, Greg and Dan, we're going to take you after 10 o'clock. So if you can hang in there, we appreciate it. The thing is, again, this is a broken record. They did this in 2022, talking about the Democrats. And here they're planting the seed again. Oh, if Donald Trump is elected, you'll never be able to get an abortion. Well, that's not true. You know, so they're putting the fear in people, and really not. It's not the Republicans. It's not the hardcore Trump supporters. It's those independents and those people who are on the fence that they are scaring them, and they just continue to do that. You know, these TV ads that they've put out are pretty powerful. And if people, people believe that kind of stuff. I mean, if a woman needs an abortion, if it's a life and death situation, she can find a way to get one. That's what I say. But to continually say that Trump is going to take away this right and that right and the other, it's ridiculous. And we're going to talk next hour about the Trump dictatorship, another article that I read that talks about that. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Would you believe hour number 1 is in the books already? I don't believe it. Hour number 2 is on the way, and you know what we say. Don't go away.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Hour number 2, Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us. And as always, lively discussions this morning on everything pertaining to Trump and a few other things as well. 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. And because these folks have been holding so long, we'll get to the calls first, and then we're going to talk about another interesting Trump topic. Let's talk to Greg in Absecon. Greg, good morning. You're on Talk with a Purpose.
Mr. Massey, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
We are invaded, by the way. I just want to let you know. The armies have been coming here for 4 years.
Yeah.
And our Trojan horse came across Alaska, made a left-hand turn onto the continent, our United States, then two-thirds of the way over, it made a right. And then we blew it up. It was here to do nothing but map the the topical layers of the earth within our country and the silos. That's a given. We're going to see a war develop on this continent. Not a shot will be fired. There's going to be no armies on any fields. They're going to take out our infrastructure, not a percentage of it, all of it.
Yeah, but who?
Units, the receiving units, the transmission units, everything is going to disappear.
Who's going to do that, Greg? Who's going to do that?
We had 4 nations send people, China, Russia, and two more.
Okay.
They're already here.
Okay.
They've been coming. And we, of course, we guard all our infrastructure, don't we?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew you were being facetious. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
We don't.
Thank you. But it's so obvious, and it's going to happen before Trump. If he is going to get into office, he will not get into office before this happens. So we're on a very tight time schedule right now.
Well, what, in your opinion, would prevent it from happening?
Nothing.
So we're doomed.
The only thing that would stop it would be Trump, because he will they will reap the reward of what they do.
Yeah, I'm not sure I completely follow you, Greg, but it's an interesting theory. You know,
somebody better take a serious look at it, because the timing is perfect for them.
You know, people have said we're in for World War III, and you know it's been talked about here on this show many times. But I don't know. I don't know. I hope you're wrong.
Well, so do I.
For all of our sakes.
It's going to be a war where never a shot is fired.
Yeah, yeah.
That's going to be an interesting war.
Yeah.
And we will be driven to our knees.
Yeah. Well,
it's something we have to look forward to if we do nothing about it.
Yeah, but what
they're here? They've been arriving for 4 years.
What could we do, though? I mean, other than
prepare for it.
Yeah.
You know, start guarding the soldiers, start guarding the infrastructures. As best we can. And the thing is, what's going to happen, it's going to happen in a day or 2 days. And it's not going to be transmitted other than a word and a time. And it's going to happen across the country. No transmissions. It's going to be similar to how they took down 2 of our major buildings in New York, and not a word came over the airwaves.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I hope that doesn't.
It was all preordained by them.
I hope that doesn't happen, Greg, and thanks for the call. How do you follow that call? We'll try. Dan, you have the task of following that call. Dan in Linwood, good morning. Welcome.
Well, I could add to it. Why in the world would you sell farmland basically 5 to 15 miles away from military bases?
Yeah.
To foreign people.
Yeah.
I mean, China's buying. I think they have between 140,000 acres and 350,000 acres of land, and they're all close to places where they shouldn't be close to.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Now, with this lawsuit, with the 85 million, just basically can't believe that number, because I guess she was asking for 10 million, and the jury decided to be who they were, and that'll be quashed on appeal, because that kind of money is ridiculous for that.
Oh yeah. Oh, no question. No question. Yeah. Yeah, a couple of million maybe, but that's it. Yeah.
Now, in her case, John, she doesn't remember the year that it happened. But the young lady, I don't know if you remember Tara Reid, who accused Joe Biden, and her mother called the Larry King show.
Yes.
Howard Baker happened to be on, the Watergate prosecutor.
Yeah.
And she said, the mother asked, what could we do when a powerful senator did this, that, and the other thing to my daughter? And it was really compelling, radio and TV at the time to watch that. And the idea of Donald Trump, you're a very observant guy. How many women has he mishandled in public, we'll say, just as let's say, a sign of your character? You're grabbing a woman, or you're doing something, or holding her too tight, and then you have, on the other side, you have Joe Biden. How many times has he mishandled women?
Yeah.
Right? Including the one guy, the cabinet guy. He's given him a cabinet post, and in the background, Joe is given a very aggressive shoulder massage, the lean in, the sniffing of the hair, the whispering in the ear. This is all going on live TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then Chris Coon's daughter, she was just like trying to pull away the best she could, and on and on and on. I mean, there's 10, 15, 20 things you can go to and say, what's going on with this stuff. And but I've never seen Donald Trump do anything
Neither
like that.
Neither have I. No.
Well, I guess that's our lying eyes.
But Biden is a saint. I mean, he doesn't do anything wrong.
Now, how about this young lady in Georgia giving the big time salary, $658,000 to the boyfriend?
Yeah.
My question is, when he went up to Washington, which he's not supposed to do because they said that they're not involved with the federal government, they're not working together on this.
Right.
Yet they spend 16 hours, and I believe I heard he billed them for 24 hours. The question is, who paid for the trip from Georgia to the White House?
Probably Georgia.
Well, the taxpayers of Georgia.
Yeah,
or
the taxpayers,
or the taxpayers of the United States. They may have been invited up.
Yeah. So, one way or another, taxpayers paid for it. That's the bottom line.
And in the end, they go sauntering off to Napa Valley. They go on the luxury cruises.
Yeah.
They're going to San Diego, wherever they're going. They're hopping all over the place on taxpayer money because she's paying him. She's paying him, I don't know, $250 an hour, and this guy's he's making trips to Washington to talk. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and he never. This is not his area of expertise. He never.
It certainly isn't.
No, I mean he was an ambulance chaser. So what does he know about this kind of stuff? So
there's a job for all different kind of lawyers, but if you want to get a lawyer and you're involved in a RICO case, you got to be pretty much Rudy Giuliani type of lawyer.
That's right. You
got to be sharp.
Yeah.
John, I wanted to tell you there is a rumor down in they're finally going to decide this Virginia and Maryland thing about Washington is going to become part of one of those states. That's a big rumor. And here's how it's going to be decided. They found a beautiful $1,000 gold piece, and they're going to do it by coin flip to decide. So they're going to flip the coin, right?
Yeah.
So the winner gets the coin. The loser gets Washington.
That's good. That's good, Dan. Thanks for the call. Oh, that's a good one. 609-407-1450. Talk with a Purpose every Saturday night till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Let's talk to Ethel in Galloway. Ethel, good morning.
Hey, good morning, John. How you doing?
Good.
Trump 2024, and we need to get behind that man. He's been through a lot. But I have some important things I need to just talk about in New Jersey. So if everyone's listening, listen up because it is important.
Okay.
We are not to simply bandage the wounds of victims beneath the wheels of injustice. We are to drive a spoke in the wheel itself. Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I watched Governor Murphy's State of the Union address recently, but I also watched it last year. I couldn't wrap my head around how this man can be so aggressive on abortion, so insatiable. Of course, he says it's reproductive health care. He never will say it's abortion. However, they will never use that word. Instead, they'll say it's our most fundamental rights as a woman. A woman should have the right to make their own choices about their bodies, ignoring the body of the baby. They call it women's reproductive health care. Governor Murphy made fun of Florida and Texas last year, saying how they wrapped themselves up in the flag and they say they're doing freedom when they're, coming after women's rights. To use the line in The Princess Bride when Montalia says, "You keep using that word, but I don't think it means what you think it means." He laughed and said, they are doing the opposite of freedom by wrapping a war against women. But yet, again, I would say to Governor Murphy, you keep using that word, unproductive freedom, reproductive health care for women, and you keep using that word, but I don't think it means what you think it means, Governor Murphy. It is the direct taking of a human life up into birth. It is called murder. And people have to start acknowledging it and standing in the gap. We have a choice today. John, every single one of us have a choice. Every single one of us have a decision to make. We see what's happening to our country. They're hitting us from all ends, whether it's energy. Governor Murphy will say whatever it is, our food supply, everything they're hitting us with. We know. Look at our schools. If they're afraid of Planned Parenthood, if we're not standing up against Planned Parenthood now because of abortion rights, well, people better start waking up about the transgender agenda they have, too, because there's a lot of money in that. You're talking top and bottom surgeries on children, on minors, hormones that they're going to be giving out to minors on top of the abortion pill. Are we a beacon of light, like Murphy says? Because in the Bible it says if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body is, and it's full of darkness. So if that light is in you as darkness, how great is that darkness? How great is the darkness that looms over our state, John? How great is the darkness that are in the souls of our leaders like Murphy? Yes, I pray for him, but he has weaponized the New Jersey Attorney General's office against crisis pregnancy centers. We need them. They help women. They help families. The only people that support them are grassroots, and I would say today to everybody listening, start supporting them. They're giving $40 million to Planned Parenthood, $165 million since this whole thing started, since he's been in office. They're giving blood money to these places, and they have a strike force to come after people who are pro-life. This isn't America. This is communism. This is socialism. This is not America, and we need to stand in the gap. How many of us are in this nation that are Christians, that are Americans, that are patriots? They can't do what they're doing to us unless we let them.
Well, well said, Ethel, and Murphy can't run for re-election, but boy, I didn't vote for him, and I know you didn't vote for him.
We need people to run, and I'm trying to talk to men now that are good, godly men, righteous men. If you're listening today, stand in the gap for this country. Stand in the gap for your families, because we're losing them. We're losing our children, and they're killing them by the thousands per day. New Jersey is number 2 in the abortion. Did you know that?
No,
now we're up to
no.
22,000 a year we're killing, and now we're one more thing important, a bill that they didn't get passed in December. Murphy wants to push it through, so everybody pay attention. It's out-of-state costs. They want to pay, a woman should not have to pay for her reproductive health care, he calls it. What he's really saying is, we will pay for abortion. It's a fancy way of saying your tax dollar is going to pay for their abortion, out-of-state abortion, and it's also going to cause sex traffickers to come in and everything else. We already know we have them here.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Ethel, thanks thanks for the call. We appreciate it. Murphy, that's another story. But Ethel's right. There is big money. I mean, we're talking big money in these reproductive surgeries. One of my clients, they employ a transgender person. And do you know what the surgery costs her? Okay, I don't want to be graphic, but to convert the bottom, try $50,000. That's one person. So, yeah, there's big money in that. So, like they say, follow the money. Let's talk to Bob in Florida. Bob, good morning. Welcome.
Hey, good morning, John. Just taking my final sip of coffee here.
Okay.
But hey, look, there's no sense of proportionality in this bogus lawsuit that Trump got hit with. Can you imagine a catastrophically injured person, right? Yeah. Quadriplegic. I don't think they get anywhere near the money this prejudiced jury voted against Trump. I mean, that's insane. But I want to talk, John, about the border, about this sudden conversion now that we see from the Democrats and from Biden. So we have all these years of Biden opening up the floodgates, and now suddenly, because it is the number one campaign issue for most of the country, now they're pivoting, a reversal of course, which will continue up until Election Day.
Yes.
And then if they win, well, they'll go back to opening up the floodgates. And look, we need to focus on, and the Trump campaign needs to focus on, the empirical evidence that is so obvious, right? So Biden says that he's always wanted to do something about the border problem. Okay, when before he was inaugurated, he gave the word out to the illegals to come on up. He said it. He said it. If you want asylum, you come up. He gave, and that's when those caravans started. The other point, the Trump funding for the border wall, that was already paid for, not to complete it completely, but in many areas of the border, it was paid for. Those contractors were paid by the Biden administration because it was an obligation. It was a contract with the federal government. They were paid, but they were instructed not to do the work.
Yeah. Yeah.
That tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing, the third point is the barbed wire barricades that the state of Texas now erected, and if the federal government is not going to enforce the immigration laws, well, the state of Texas, they've decided, well, they're going to use their law enforcement to enforce the immigration laws. What did the Biden administration do? They sued them, and they made them. They're making them take down the barbed wire barriers. So that tells you all you need to know.
Right.
Joe Biden is a liar. All his minions, all his henchmen, like Mayorkas, they're all horrible liars. All right, and I hope this is not. It's not that complicated. Voters should be able to understand this, and the Trump campaign should be able to communicate this. I mean, it is obvious that these people are lying, that they've caused the Biden administration and the Democrat Party has caused this nightmare.
That's for sure.
Yep.
That is a nightmare, believe me.
Sure is. Yep.
Right,
John.
Well, thanks for the call, Bob. 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. We are wide open for a moment. All the lines are open. 609-407-1450. Rare moment on the show. So if you want to jump in now, it's a good time to do it. 609-407-1450. I'm John DeMasi. We are coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment. But first, we want to talk about the good stuff. Lexus, courtesy of Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And I told you about the experience I had when I took my car in, going to buy out the lease. And, it was just a very, very calm and easy discussion. Here's what it would take for you in a new car. Here's what it would take to buy out the car. I chose to buy out the car. No hype, no pressure, none of this. You ever go to a car dealer and there's a guy come in, they call it the TO guy, the takeover guy. And he comes in and he says, so what's it going to take for you to get this car? Does it take this or take that? And, you end up being there for 3 hours or more. How about 6 hours? My niece went to buy a car. I went with her. 6 hours. that I'll never get back. 6 hours in a car dealer. Doesn't happen at Lexus of Atlantic City. 3169 Fire Road, EHT. You want to check out the models, whether it's new or pre-owned, aclexus.com, aclexus.com. That's the website. Check it out. You'll see a lot of new cars, a lot of pre-owned vehicles, but they're all there, and they are shiny and ready to go. aclexus.com is the website. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Good day to stop by and test drive a car or two or three. Coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
Chances are you've tasted the delicious fruits and vegetables from B.F. Mazzio, but didn't know it. That's because B.F. Mazzio has a huge wholesale division that delivers to area restaurants, schools, hospitals, and more. If you own a restaurant or run a commercial kitchen, call B.F. Mazzio's wholesale division at 609-641-6608. That's 609-641-6608. And don't forget B.F. Mazzio at 601 New Road in Northfield. Call 609-641-6608.
I'm Seth Grossman for LibertyAndProsperity.com. Last month, American Thinker published an article I wrote about the war in the Middle East. I call it 13 key facts about Israel that are known by very few Americans. I invite you to Google it or look it up at LibertyAndProsperity.com. One is that Palestine was never an Arab nation. It was the name that a Roman emperor gave to Israel after he crushed a Jewish rebellion there. Another is that most of Israel or Palestine was mostly empty malaria swamp and desert until about 100 years ago. Most Arabs did not move there until after Jews drained the swamps, watered the deserts, and planted trees and crops. Learn more about these and other important facts about Jews, Christians, and Arabs in and around Israel. Visit LibertyAndProsperity.com. Help us reach more people. Join our weekly breakfast. Donate what you can to keep us on the air and online. LibertyAndProsperity.com.
You're invited to attend a very important and informative seminar Tuesday, February 6th and Tuesday, February 13th at 6 p.m. at the Stockton University Campus Center, Meeting Room 5. The seminar will feature Joe Yankovich, host of The Heart of Your Money, heard right here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Joe will discuss tax management and income strategies in retirement. And of course, we'll answer any and all of your questions. Stay informed and up to date. Attend this important seminar Tuesday, February 6th and Tuesday, February 13th at 6 p.m. at the Stockton University Campus Center, Meeting Room 5. You can register online. Simply go to jmlfinancialgroup.com and click on the link. See you at the seminar.
We are going to tell you how you can listen to any of our shows at any time. You know how you're sitting around and you want to do something different? Well, you can just Google sitting around. Yeah, you can Google John DeMasi podcasts and all of the shows come up. There are over 200 shows. So you can listen to any one of them anytime. You can listen to show number 143, which I don't have any idea what that was about. But you can find out. Google John DeMasi podcasts and all the shows come up and you can just pick and choose whatever you'd like to listen to. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Let's talk to John in Ocean City. John, welcome back.
Yes, sir. Thank you. In regard to the last caller, Ethel, there is a spiritual dimension to what's going on here. Texas's controversial anti-abortion law, known as the Hart Bill, went into effect at midnight on September 1st, 2021. For some reason, I'm having a problem talking today. Anyway, the Satanic Temple has made it an issue that they're opposing any kind of laws that would prohibit abortion. So yes, that's those people that follow that spiritual orientation believe it's a spiritual dimensional issue. So why shouldn't we? If you're an atheist and you don't believe in a world beyond the five senses, what you see, hear, touch, taste, and smell, that's your problem, not mine, because that world does exist. But those of us that have had those experiences in that realm, we know for a fact that it exists. I'm not going to go there because you already think I'm a tinfoil wearing nut anyway, so I don't want to go there. Anyway, Tara Reid has said that Joe Biden molested her, raped her, and then made threats against her that if she speaks out, he'll make her life so miserable she'll wish she was never born. I'm paraphrasing, but that's more or less what he told her. He says, nobody will believe you anyway. And actually, there's 11 women that came out testifying and making allegations against Bill Clinton for violent rape against them. And Hillary Clinton dismissed them as nuts and sluts. And I thought a woman's voice mattered. But I wanted to talk about was exceptionalism. There are no exceptional white people, supposedly. Well, I beg to differ. The definition of exceptional: unusual, not typical; unusually good, outstanding. You just go on YouTube and look up off-grid bushcrafters, how they can put cabins together, look like luxury homes, and how they can sink pipe for water, and how they can build an outhouse, and all those different things. They're exceptional people. They're not typical. They do outstanding things that regular people can't do. So I beg to differ with that. And as far as our economy not being, you can't equate it to, controlling the rudder of a ship. I'm really messing up today, man. A rudder of a ship and steering its steering. You can't just simplify our economy to that. Well, we have a $34 trillion national fiscal debt. Somebody's screwing up somewhere, I think. We got these career politicians who have their heads up their backsides, and on both sides too. How about we learn our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, like really learn it really well, and hold these politicians' feet to the fire? That would be a good idea, I think. Thanks for letting me call on a second time.
Okay, John, thanks for the call. If you want some words of advice, John, speak a little slower, and it'll be easier. You won't stumble as much. Okay, I used to teach guys how to be public speakers. Just a little tidbit of information. Talk with the purpose is the show. Saturdays, 9 till noon, WPG, Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. And again, we're wide open with the lines here. So if you want to get in here, it's a good time to do that. A friend of mine texted me this with regards to the Supreme Court ruling on the razor wire at the border in Texas. The federal government has the authority, this is according to the Supreme Court ruling, to come down and remove the razor wire. But, you ready for this? The ruling doesn't say that Texas can't put up razor wire. So Texas can keep putting it up, and the feds can keep taking it down, and it'll just go back up again. So what is this, a vicious circle? I mean... It never ceases to amaze me. Again, 609-407-1450. Here is some good news. This is a recent CBS YouGov poll. They asked this question, and it's good for Trump. The poll asked, if Biden won, would his policies make you, the public, worse off financially? 50% responded yes. The same question was asked if Trump's policies would make them better off. More than half responded favorably. So Trump would make you better off financially. Biden would make you worse off financially. This was conducted January 10th through the 12th. And again, it's a CBS YouGov poll. Now, according to that survey, Biden has his work cut out for him. And look, when you look at the facts, and the facts are damning for Joe Biden. And look, we've been talking about this for a lot this morning. Immigration, okay? I mean, it has run rampant. I mean, that border, the Texas border, 10,000 a day. 10,000 a day. And I remember saying this a couple of weeks ago, that's a stadium. In a week, you would fill up a stadium. I mean, that's ridiculous. So we'll see. And one other thing I wanted to get to, and after the break, we're going to talk to Andy again. It seems like once again, the newspapers, I'll tell you, the newspapers are really, there's something. Here was another article I read this week. Is corporate America welcoming a Trump dictatorship? In this article, it heavily quoted Jamie Dimon, the CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase. He said that he doesn't think people are voting for Trump because of his family values. He further added, just take a step back and be honest. He was kind of right about NATO. He was kind of right about immigration. He grew the economy quite well. Tax reform worked. And he also, Jamie Dimon, gave Trump partial credit for his China policies. So what's the problem? This columnist suggests that corporate CEOs are unfazed by a Trump 47 presidency, even with the growing talk of dictatorship. Who's talking about dictatorship? I mean, we're not, but the Democrats are. Once again, scare tactic. Scare. Abortion. Oh, they're going to take your rights away. You're going to take your liberties away. This article goes on to say that a U.S. bank CEO, not Jamie Dimon, this is someone else, privately expressed annoyance, and it sounds like us, with media exaggeration of the threat of a Trump presidency, stressing he's all bark and no bite. This CEO goes on to say, many of his policies were right. They were right. These corporate CEOs, they want Trump. He's going to be a dictator. What do you think? Oh, only in America, right? 609-407-1450. We'll get to Andy and we'll get to somebody else in just a moment. And then we have Joe Yakovich. No dictator there, but he dictates what you should do with finances. That's another story about a dictator. 609-407-1450. I'm John DeMasi, coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. Joe Yakovich is registered with and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. Member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. We've got a thick cloud cover this afternoon with I-52. Cloudy tonight, becoming rainy with low dip at a 40. Breezy tomorrow with rain. Could end up as wet snow late night into early Monday. High tomorrow 48. Breezy with occasional rain tomorrow night, low 37. Monday, snow and rain early in the morning, then mostly cloudy and breezy with high 45. I'm AccuWeather's Ruth O'Brien on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, if you want to email me during the week, jdadv1 at Comcast.net. That's jdadv1 at Comcast.net. Email me anything you like, pro or con or whatever, program suggestions. We take them all on. jdadv1 at Comcast.net. Let's go to the phones. Andy is back in Brigantine. Andy, good morning.
Yeah, it's still a great day in Brigantine, John.
It sure is.
Yeah. So do you remember when President Trump was saying, hey, Russia, you're listening, maybe you can find Hillary's missing emails? Remember that?
Yeah.
So obviously it was clearly a joke.
Yes.
And when President Trump a couple of weeks ago on Hannity's show, he said, well, I'm going to be a dictator just for the first day. I'm going to close the borders and I'm going to drill, baby, drill. Okay? And obviously he's making a joke. Do you think a guy gets up there and announces to the world that he's going to be a dictator?
No.
Don't they just...
No.
Of course.
No.
Do you think Hitler got up there and said what he was going to do when he was wrong? I mean, it's preposterous. But yet the other day, when Joe Biden was in Manassas, Virginia, at an event, he introduced the former, he introduced Terry McAuliffe, the guy who lost the election because of his comment about, that parents shouldn't be telling schools what they should be teaching their children.
Right.
Remember that?
Right.
So Joe Biden, instead of, we know that Glenn Youngkin is the governor of Virginia, but Joe Biden at an event in Manassas the other day introduced Terry McAuliffe as the real governor of Virginia.
Jeez.
Okay. So was Joe Biden a threat to democracy and an election denier? Okay. So when Peter Doocy asked Karine Jean-Pierre about that comment by Joe Biden, she said, well, clearly the president was just making a joke. Oh, so when Joe Biden says something like that, denying the election, he's just making a joke. But when President Trump says he's going to be a dictator just on the first day, he's deadly serious. And that means he's going to be a dictator for the entire 4 years of his term, right? It's so preposterous. Now, if Donald Trump had 4 years to be a dictator, was he?
No.
Okay. But we're expected to believe that he would be a dictator in a second term.
Yes.
Meanwhile, we have a guy like Joe Biden who tells you can't have a gas stove, you can't have a gas water heater, you can't have a gasoline-powered car. And that sounds more like a dictator to me, a guy who's telling you can't have this and you can't have that. And do you remember when Nancy Pelosi was pushing for Obamacare, and she was talking about all the freedoms that Obamacare will give you? You'll be able to pursue your dreams of being an artist or a photographer. Remember that?
Yeah.
And she said the mandate, meaning the Obamacare mandate, she said the mandate is freedom. Now, John, there aren't two words in the English language who could mean the exact opposite than the word mandate and the word freedom. But that's what. But they keep telling you that they're trying to protect your freedoms, even as they take away everything that you want that they say you can't have.
Right.
Now,
right.
Let's real quick on Trump and New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, Donald Trump won every single demographic. He won young people. He won old people. He won men. He won women. Okay? He also won those with bachelor's degrees, so 2-year degrees. The only demographic in New Hampshire that Donald Trump did not win were those with advanced degrees. You know, the people who come out of Harvard and Yale and places like that, who make over $150,000
yes.
a year. That was the only demographic that Donald Trump did not win. And I mentioned this to Harry the other day. There's a really interesting article. I think I sent you an excerpt. It was written by Kimberly Strassel for the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. So she talks about the types of things that these elites, the elites that have these 4-year postgraduate degrees, that these views that these elites have. And, you know, it's kind of shocking, but then it really isn't. If you read that article by Kimberly Strassel for the Wall Street Journal, it's called the them versus us election. you will see exactly why these people hate Donald Trump and why they hate just regular Americans like you and I. They are so out of touch. I think that I really feel like we're going to have another Ronald Reagan 1980 landslide. But I say this, people should not get cocky, just assume it's going to happen, because look at what happened in 2020 or 2022. We were going to have this take back the House, the Senate, whatever. It was going to be this big Republican wave that didn't happen.
Yeah,
so
I'm afraid of that too, Andy. I'm afraid of that too. I'm afraid of complacency, and that's you're right. We may be in for a landslide, but you think that way, and then you let your guard down, and then the next thing you know, you lose. So I hope that doesn't happen. Yeah, I'm concerned about that too.
Yeah, I mentioned to Harry that all of these people who publicly despise Donald Trump, who refuse to endorse him, etc., who endorse Nikki Haley, etc. When the chips are down, when they're in that voting booth by themselves, and Donald Trump is the nominee, they're going to stand there looking at those buttons on that panel, and they're going to think about what happened in this country under Joe Biden. And I have to believe that if you love your country, you're going to put your hatred for Donald Trump's mean tweets aside, and you're going to think about how the country was when he was president, and you're going to push the button. You may hold your nose, but you're going to push the button for Donald Trump. And you know what, John, I liken it to, I cannot stand Barbara Streisand. Her politics, she to me is just human feces in that regard. But it doesn't take away that she's probably the greatest female singer in our lifetime. The voice, you can't take that away from her.
No, you're right.
When you listen to her sing, you have to forget what a piece of trash she is and just enjoy the music.
Yep.
So forget what you may think about Trump's behavior. Think about what he did for the country. And to all these soccer moms, these suburban moms, I would suggest that you pay more attention to the behavior of your sons, your own sons, and the behavior of your own husbands, rather than worrying about Donald Trump's behavior. Because I'll tell you what, from what I see of a lot of men out there, a lot of husbands, a lot of a lot of teenage boys, young men, their behavior is a lot worse than Donald Trump's. So, I think the country and your own families would be better served for these soccer moms to pay more attention to the behaviors of their own husbands and their own male children.
Andy, thanks a lot for the call. Good stuff. Yeah, I'm worried about complacency too, and I've said that many times, but we'll see. It's still a long way to go till November. Frank in EHT. Frank, good morning. Welcome.
Hey, John. Great show as always.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Regarding your previous caller, that girl named Karen Carpenter and I think it was Ella Fitzgerald, they both have pretty powerful voices.
Yeah.
Streisand's tremendously talented, of course, but what was that commercial Ella Fitzgerald used to sing right into her when she was in her late 70s, early 80s?
Oh, it was a commercial for...
Memorex.
Yes, and she sang and it broke the glass.
What a powerful voice, even in her older years.
Yeah.
I just remembered that from the previous call. Also, he had mentioned about the Donald Trump and the Trump haters and the Democrats in the media and government claiming that Trump would be a dictator.
A dictator, yeah.
Isn't that funny, John, that currently the President of the United States, the current president, his administration is not only did they sue Texas to prevent them from securing their borders, but they're also threatening to send troops into Texas. Think about what I just said. To stop that state from defending itself from the invasion. For example, John, I've heard someone mention this previously. If the state of Alaska somehow was suddenly invaded by China or Russia, and the federal government decided not to defend it, what would the inhabitants, the citizens of the state of Alaska, be required to just let it roll over and let the invaders take over their country?
No,
I mean,
of course not. They fight it.
It's so stupid, the argument currently about does the citizens of the state of Texas have the right to defend their state from the invasion that's encouraged? Just completely absurd.
Yeah.
Hey, John, regarding the lawsuit, this woman recently, E. Jean Carroll, and what do her and Nimrata, a.k.a. Nikki Haley, have in common? Do you know?
No, I don't. You were going to tell me, though, right?
Oh, absolutely, I am. Mega donor, Democrat mega donor, Reid Hoffman. He funded her lawsuit against Donald Trump, 30 years, which he was found innocent. She made rape claims, but he was found innocent of that. But Reid Hoffman, not only does he fund this lawsuit against Trump for that woman, but he also is a mega donor for Nikki Haley. What a coincidence, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, Johnny, how much did the victims of Epstein receive for all the years of abuse, for the pedophilia, and all the people that were harmed? How much money did they receive, the victims, from the perpetrators?
I don't know, but I know it wasn't $83 million.
It was zero, John. Not one. Not only is it zero,
Jeez,
John.
yeah.
Not one of the perpetrators on that list. And they have the FBI, the government has the list of the individuals who perpetrated these crimes, which have never paid 1 cent. Just to show you how skewed our so-called, I won't even use the word, well, I will use it, Justice Department, the unfairness of it all. Hangs out. Seth had mentioned that in his opening about that he had met one of his previous distractors that had called him a racist 6 years later.
Yeah.
6 years later after, But as I recall, when Seth defended himself in the local papers and on radio numerous times with regard that he had to defend himself, that he wasn't a racist.
He said that. Yeah, he said that.
But somehow Donald Trump, who was falsely accused of rape and proved out to be innocent, as the court system pointed out, somehow Donald Trump's not allowed to defend himself and say that she's a liar, she's corrupt, it never happened.
Yeah.
All these things. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy.
Oh, of course,
One last thing, John. Alina Habba is Donald Trump's lawyer for this recent case.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to read you some of the tweets from Mrs. Carroll that she's posted on over the years on.
You know what, Frank? If you can call next week or whatever, we got to move on because we're running out of time this hour. Thanks for the call. We have Bob and we have Frank and Ventnor to talk to before 11 o'clock, and then we have Joe Yakovich for the entire hour. You looking forward to that? I am. 609-407-1450, our number here in the studio. I'm John DeMasi. Final thoughts in hour number 2 after these words.
Joe Yakovich is registered with and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. Member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world.
The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com.
We are back here on Talk with a Purpose. Again, 609-407-1450. Bob is back. Well, it says here Cape May, but he's in Florida. Come on.
I'm in Florida.
Bob is in Florida, and he's not coming back for a while.
No, afraid not, John. Hey, look, Barbara Streisand, I'm not really thrilled with her at all, but she's a good evaluator of talent. She said about my favorite singer, she said, there are a lot of good singers, there are a few great singers, and then there's Johnny Mathis. And he's still appearing live, still on tour, and I think he's like 86.
Yeah.
And he, hell of a performer. Just, But anyway, look, Biden, okay, and what he did to people's lives in terms of their economic prosperity. All right, the 3 years of Trump prior to the China virus, real wages. Now, real wages are wage growth less inflation. So that's your net real wage increase. They rose in 3 years of Trump by $4,000 per family. In the 16 years prior of Bush and Obama, they rose $2,000 per family in 16 years versus 3 in Trump. They more than doubled in Trump. Okay. Now, Biden, yes, there's been wage growth, but wait a minute, not real wage growth. So because the inflation that he has caused has more than eaten up any real wage increase.
Right.
So that's your net effect. And of course, we see it at the gas pump, at the grocery store. They want to force us to buy electric vehicles, which on average cost $20,000 more per vehicle, are more costly to repair. It's something the market doesn't want. But again, this is what the Biden regime is all about. This is what planned communist government is all about.
That's right.
It's a planned economy. The free market isn't allowed to make decisions, meaning the free market is you and I.
Yeah.
It's ordinary Americans deciding what they want, what is best for their lives. That doesn't work in the socialist communist system that Biden and the Democrats have embraced. So
yeah.
Anyway, I'm out of steam, John.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the call. Frank and Ventnor. Frank, good morning. Welcome.
Hey, good morning, John.
Good morning.
So, John, I'm going to give a little change of pace call. You probably don't get many of these calls. I'm going to give a big shout-out, a gigantic shout-out to John Fetterman, senator from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Right? I think it's rare that you get these calls.
Yes, yes, it is.
John, yeah, he's been very supportive of Israel. Last night, he had a group of Palestinian supporters come to his house and chanting outside, and they were chanting, "You can't hide. You're supporting genocide," right? So what does Fetterman do? He goes up to the roof of his building, and he holds up a gigantic Israeli flag. I'll send you the video later.
Okay,
okay. A great move. Something you wouldn't expect. And I think it kind of helps us, let's stop demonizing people and calling names. We never know where, we might be able to come together on many things.
Yeah. You know what else
end on a good note.
You know what else I like about him? He has been adamant about Menendez resigning. I mean, he has not stopped. I mean, it's like every article I read, it's like twice a week I read an article. Fetterman says Menendez resign, and he's a member of his own party. So, yeah, I like that about him, too. So I think, there's some good things we can say about a Democrat.
Yeah, if I even saw on social media, Clay Travis, who's very conservative, he was really down Fetterman, and he's saying, you know what? I'm reconsidering now.
Yeah,
you know, he might be a good guy.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Thanks for the change of pace call, Frank. We appreciate it. We get once in a while, we give kudos to Democrats, right? When they deserve it, sure. Well, that's looks like hour number 2 is rapidly coming to a close. It's in the books. Hour number 3, Joe Yakovich. Not only is he going to straighten out our finances, but he's going to tell us who he thinks will win the Super Bowl. And if it's that guy in Kansas City, we may not let him speak for the whole hour, okay? We'll see. Joe Yakovich coming up in hour number 3. Hour number 2 is in the books. And as we say, hour number 3 on the way, the Joe Yakovich hour. Don't go away.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Hour number 3, Talk with a Purpose, every Saturday, 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi with the one and only Joe Yakovich. It is the Joe Yakovich Hour.
Nice.
Wow.
I could try to do this in 3 weeks, but I'm going to do it in an hour for you today, John.
Okay. Good.
A lot of information.
He is wearing his...
Just a matter of time. It's my Kansas City, remember.
I know you played for them. I know that. But I mean, Kansas City, I mean, I am... please. After what Andy Reid did to us... I don't want to get started.
My heart is there, but my money's someplace else. How's that?
You know, go next door next hour and talk to them.
I just did. When they booed me off. So
yeah, well, they feel like I feel. Kansas City, jeez.
Big weekend this weekend.
Yes.
It's going to be a lot of things that are going to be. Well, I'll put it this way, John. Excitement is going to be in the air. And that's what we want to see. We want to see 4 good, solid teams, not some team that gets blown out. And that's not fun to watch. I like to see good, solid team. And you've seen over the last 2 weeks, the team that you would have thought that should have won did not, on mistakes, bad kicks, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to be a fun weekend for a lot of people that are sports-minded, especially in the football world.
So who's going to win the Super Bowl?
You know what? I still say it's Baltimore is it seems like they're rising up. It seems like they're playing at their peak. It seems like they're out there and it's their time, so to speak. And not to say Kansas City, but they've been lucky the last couple of weeks, and I don't see them getting past these guys. But we'll see what happens.
Okay. Well, that was our little sidetrack in the sports.
Yeah.
We're going to take a call here. Jenny in Absecon is on the line, and Jenny has a question for Joe. Jenny, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose and the Joe Yakovich Hour.
Good morning,
What's your question?
Good morning, Jenny. How are you today?
I am good. I'm good.
I love to hear that.
It's all good.
You better believe it.
I worked hard all my life. Ever since I was 11 years old, I started out with a paper route. Then I was a cook and an ice cream server at a place that's not there anymore. It was called Greenwood Dairies.
Oh, yes. I went there many times as a kid.
Did you?
Yes, I went there many times. It's up above Northeast Philadelphia.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Near Reedman's.
Yes, that's right. And I tell you what, it was great. That was like our ride when we started driving, when we were kids. Yes. We started driving. That was when my father lent me the car, and we all went up and got ice cream. And remember the pig's dinner?
Yeah, the buttons. I was a pig. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you ate it, you got another one free.
That's right. That's right. And a friend of mine ate one.
And got one free. But
That's
the
right.
kicker is, they had the best. They used to make it right in their own dairy.
That's right. That's right.
You can't get high quality ice cream like that anymore. No chemicals, because we used to make it. If we worked in the factory, we used to make it.
Yeah, yeah. What's your question for Joe?
My question is, I'm curious. This frivolous, insane lawsuit that I never heard of this author, E. Jean Carroll. If she gets the $83.3 million, is that taxable?
No, it's not to her. And I don't think that number is going to be will hold.
Well, she's never going to get that.
No,
they're never going to.
But no,
that.
It's not taxable.
No.
It's like winning the lottery. It's taxable, but that's why it's funny. We're using the same scenario. You realize it's people that get the lottery or win the lottery. Most of them, and I say most of them, do not ask for the monthly. They ask for the lump. And there's a reason for that. It's a reason being is they're afraid themselves that the government will not pay them out that number.
Oh.
So I use the same scenario with how you opened the dialogue up today, is that's the problem. And John mentioned it earlier, Jen, if you tuned in about 15 minutes ago, about Jay Diamond for JP Morgan. And I read so much information, and I just decipher what can be applicable to people I'm talking to, like yourself. But we have a problem in the next 10 years. We're looking, I used to say the tsunami's coming, but the cliff is in front of us in 10 years. We got 100 million people that are getting ready to get out of Dodge City and be over 65. And we got $34 trillion. We had a $33 trillion in October of 23, and now 3 months later it's 34. And if you project that, and I'm going to be conservative when I say that, you could be looking at double the debt that we have. If that happens, where are they getting the money? So it bothers me, Jenny, like no other, when I see what's happening on the border and I see who's paying for that. And Jenny, just to let you know, I'm proud to tell you you and I are so much alike in so many ways, and I'll tell you why. See, you have done the right thing. You worked hard, you saved money, you did what you're supposed to do. The problem now, Jenny, you have a big target on your back because you've done well. And when the government needs money, they're not going after the people that coming over from the border. They're not going after people that have not saved like you have. They're coming after you because they need money to pay for the people that did not work like you, did not do the paper route, did not do the ice cream parlor thing, did not do any of that. So, and I'm talking to people like you every day, Jenny, that the fact of the matter is we need to wake up, and I have a strategy we'll talk about today that will prevent the disaster that could really ruin people. People don't really understand. They're going to wake up to this because of what's happening, and we don't really get the real truth about inflation. They hide it. It's not core inflation, Jenny. I don't know about you, but you and I probably go to some of the same places to eat or some of the same places to buy our foods. Food doesn't cost less than it did last year or the year before. I don't know about where you go, but man, my stuff is going up a lot higher than what they're projecting. Energy.
Very much so. Very much so.
And you have core inflation, the stuff that we use every day, Jenny. See, they're manipulating the numbers. And when I go and talk to people and I get people to learn some of the strategies that I present to them, and I'm going to share with you today, it's amazing. Their eyes open up because, I never thought about that. I call it the nod effect. When you get off the phone today, when you hear what we have to say, what you're going to start to do, and just catch yourself, you're going to be nodding because you're going to say to yourself, yeah, he's right. What do we do? And I have more people call, and it's I didn't know what it was until somebody made it a point to address it with me. He goes, yeah, man, I've been listening to you for a while here, Joe, and I've been nodding. The Johns of the world, the Bobs of the world, they're nodding, going, yeah, you're right. So we have some things to talk to you about. But, hey, listen, I'm proud of you, and Jenny, keep it up. And
thanks a lot for the call. Thanks a lot.
That's good
Appreciate
stuff.
It. 609-407-1450. If you have a financial type question for Joe Yakovich, feel free to call in. 609-407-1450. 407-1450. This is the portion of the program which we call the heart of your money.
Right.
That was that's the name of the show, and it is what we're really going to talk about today is the big fours and your likes, your dislikes, and talking about Joe's likes and dislikes. But before we begin, I wanted to ask you this.
Sure.
When you sit down with a client,
right?
What you're looking over all their stuff. How do you even begin? Like, where do you start?
You know, I
mean, this is like a maze. So where's the starting point?
You know, John, I don't know why you said that, and I didn't set you up for this, but believe it or not, before I came here today, I wanted to put some things out there for myself to read on air. And that's the number one thing, and this is what I wrote to myself and for our listening audience. Understanding the why behind the investments, because we believe the need to look at a multi-pronged approach to the global issues that we're all faced with. We never had this problem when I started this 40 years ago. So we work alongside folks. And part of it is we chat with them. We keep them honest and keep us honest. And to own what we said going forward, to do as well as we can give this information to people too. And this is our, we want to make sure we get another set of eyes and ears that make sure we're identifying and bringing the best investments forward. So when I'm talking to people like yourself, like Chris, like people in general, we have other folks that we work with, the attorneys, the accountants, the medical specialists, the Medicare specialists, to smooth out all the questions that we might have. So when I'm asking questions of the client, I'm finding out what's important to them and where they want to go. Do they want to, retire and move to another part of the state or another part of the world? Do they want to travel more? Do they want to stay local? I mean, there's so many different questions, John, what we ask. But the end game is, can I get you through retirement without running out of money, without paying the least amount of tax, and I repeat, not be a burden on your family? They're the three core beliefs in my philosophy. So I don't go at it with one product fits all. I custom my approach to the people I'm talking to, John. And those three things, every single conversation is brought to my attention, brought to their attention. That's why I'm doing a workshop in Stockton. That's what we do.
Okay, and we'll mention that in just a couple of minutes.
Sure.
We got a call. Dan in Linwood. Dan, you're on with Joe Yakovich.
This is a financial question for Joe, and it has to do with the big game coming up in February. And the original naming of the Super Bowl. Did you know how that came about?
No.
You know what?
Well,
it's funny you say that because I remember reading something about that. But let us on to this, please.
Well, Lamar Hunt,
yes,
who helped engineer with Al Davis the merger into the NFL-AFL situation.
Yes.
It used to be called the NFL-AFL championship game.
Correct.
And now Lamar Hunt was in the driveway, and his son was, I think it was his grandson, was playing the ball against the wall game. And so Lamar says, well, let me give that a shot. So he does it, and the ball goes 35 feet over his head. And he said to his son, what's that? He says, Grandpa, that's called the Super Bowl.
I remember.
I said, Super Bowl? And he says, oh, Super Bowl? Next thing you put it together, and you have a $1 trillion brand.
Yeah.
And the best part, it's a true story.
It is. And he also was the one, if you remember, try to corner the silver market back then.
Yes, and the Hunt brothers, right?
Yes.
I don't know if how close he was to the Hunt brothers.
Right.
But
that was Lamar Hunt. That was the Hunt brothers.
Well, you got a $1 trillion economy.
Correct. So thank you very much for that question and answer. Good to know that.
How much, as a financial guy, how much you think that's actually worth to the economy? And if it was in Joe Biden's hands, and he renamed it the Worst Bowl.
The Worst Bowl. It's just sad. It's just sad because we all, and I don't have to tell you, we feel the inflationary. I don't think the American public like to be forced to do things. You're not going to buy a regular car. You're going to be forced to buy an electrical car. But let me give you a point. It just happened. I'm sure everyone probably has seen this. When it gets really cold out, those batteries don't hold up. And people are now recognizing that. So what happens when it gets, 20 degrees? They can't.
AAA membership is going up tenfold.
Thank you very much. So,
Dan, thanks a lot for the call.
You very much.
Appreciate it. Okay. 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. So the big fours, your likes, your dislikes, we went through that. But what is their retirement going to look like? Is that kind of where you start the questioning, or what?
Yeah, because John, you think about it for a second. Are you, like you said earlier, do you sit around waiting for to call, and Google you and see if we're going to hang out and listen to your podcast? I don't know, maybe so. But are you going to travel a lot? Are you going to, be smart with a new hobby? Are you going to sit on the beach? Are you going to chill? Are you going to watch grandchildren? We need to have a strategy involved before we go into retirement, or at least have an idea on what's happening. But more importantly, I find to be true with most people, and I'm much to encourage them to do this. When they do retire, whatever that looks like with that individual, I always do my best to share with them, have a side hustle, do something else. I don't care where you work, but keep yourself active. If you don't have enough things to do at home, which you probably would to do maybe in the next 6 months, but what happens after that? Keep yourself active. Be around young people, and especially the folks that have professions that you can continue to do it on a part-time basis. I'm a big believer of that. I really am. I mean, it's just, we as people that lived in the U.S. and lady that talked about, working before and all her life, it's hard to just step into retirement and go, okay, now what am I going to do? We need to be keeping ourselves sharp, our brains motivated to do certain things. So I'm a big believer of that, John. Keep going, but you need to ask the right question, because I don't know. I'm not a mind reader, but when you start to talk to people about what they're going to plan on doing, like you've been retired, I don't know, Chris, probably 30 years, John DeMasi, but you still come
30 years.
You still come in and do the show. This is like a part-time job for you. This is a beautiful thing. Makes big money, and he's a celebrity. So you understand. He's doing what he loves to do. And I would have to tell you, being around you at many years I've had, you love doing what you do, and you can plainly see that. So you enjoy it, and you got to do something that you really enjoy. That's the most important thing. They're the type of questions that we ask people to start off.
You're going to make people think I have big money. I mean, you're the one with the big money,
You have, but you have big price tags on certain things that you do.
That's right. All right. I want to get to this. Just tell us, if you can.
Sure.
There are a couple different retirement plans. You refer to them as the big fours.
And it's basically what we have is the four of the 401k, the 403b, and the 457 plan.
Okay.
Now let me start off with a little history of lessons, so you need to understand. We've been spoon-fed, John, the same advice to max out our 401ks for retirement contribution. And making those contributions during our working years, it made sense, John. It really did. While you were making a lot of money and avoiding tax, because once you retire, you would all think we're going to be in a less tax bracket and make less money, therefore pay less taxes. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
Okay. But unfortunately, that's not true anymore, John, because what happened in 78, the Revenue Act, Vice came out and said the 401ks were born. Now think about what I'm about to say here. And it's true. But at the time, John, think about what I'm about to say. This is going to shock people. And I remember, because I was in that era, the top tax rate was 70%. Let me say it again, 70%. So as you know, the 401k was not meant to be a main retirement vehicle for Americans. It actually happened by accident, and it was designed, are you ready for this? By the corporate tax dodgers of highly compensated executives to get additional benefits behind their corporate pensions. Remember, everyone got a pension. I'm sure people have gotten pensions. My father got the pension, the whole 9 yards. And that, to them, everybody knew this, and that was their retirement salvation solution.
So why is this an issue?
Well, simple, John. Because back then, if you think about it, no mathematical analysis of the consequences solely using the 401k as their main retirement vehicle for Americans. So if someone was doing this by accident and no analysis was done as why we should use this product and push everyone like a brainwashing method, why does anyone ever question this? So 401ks is a company-sponsored plan. You understand who sponsors this plan. Now, there's some goods and bads to it, but I'm just sharing with you, this is not 70%. If you remember back in the day when Ronald Reagan was in office, believe it or not, he only made 2 movies back then in the 30s because it was a 94% tax bracket back then.
Oh, man.
So when he got in office, what did he do? He dropped the rate.
That's right.
If you remember. But the conditions were different, though.
All right, let's stop right there. We are coming up on a break. It is Talk with a Purpose, and it's the Joe Yakovich Hour. 609-407-1450 is the number here in the studio. If you have a financial type question for Joe, 609-407-1450. I'm John DeMasi with Joe Yakovich. We both are returning after these words.
Chances are you've tasted the delicious fruits and vegetables from B.F. Mazzio, but didn't know it. That's because B.F. Mazzio has a huge wholesale division that delivers to area restaurants, schools, hospitals, and more. If you own a restaurant or run a commercial kitchen, call B.F. Mazzio's wholesale division at 609-641-6608. That's 609-641-6608. And don't forget B.F. Mazzio at 601 New Road in Northfield. Call 609-641-6608.
When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group, 856-751-1771, 856-751-1771, or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com.
Joe Yakovich is registered with and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
In case you're wondering what Joe Yakovich talks about during the break, here he was saying it's Valentine's Day, and he was thinking of getting his wife a vacuum cleaner. Shall we have a talk with him after the show? What do you think, Chris? He needs a talking to. Anyway, if you want to reach Joe Yakovich during the week, 856-751-1771, 856-751-1771. That's the number. His website, jmlfinancialgroup.com, jmlfinancialgroup.com. And speaking of the website, Joe is conducting a couple of seminars. They're both the same, so you can attend one or the other. Tuesday, February 6th, Tuesday, February 13th, 6 o'clock, Stockton University's Campus Center, Meeting Room 5. And Joe will talk about taxes, tax management, income strategies. He'll answer questions. It's really an informative seminar. And if you want to register, this is real simple. You go to his website, jmlfinancialgroup.com, and you click on the link, and you can register. I mean, that's so simple. So, and we'll talk about that a little later on in the show as well. Mm-hmm. But if you have questions right now, 609-407-1450, that's our number here. 2 basic types of 401ks, traditional and Roth, which differ primarily in how they're taxed, and Joe will explain.
Well, I prefer the Roth 401k due to the unknown rate of the future taxes. And because of 100 million people coming, out of or going into retirement over 65 and using Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. And then you have on top of everything, with the border situation. And, no one ever thought this was going to happen, but now everybody knows about it. It's almost in every conversation if you walk around and see it. And it's concerning. It's going to affect how we have enough money to pay for the things that we were promised. And because we are in a high debt situation, think about everyone. I mean, it's like having a mortgage of $2,000 and all in and only paying $1,000. You can only do that for so long. They're going to ask you to leave. So my concerns are the benefit. They're talking, again, they're throwing it out there. It could be cut by at least 20%. So think about what's happening. So you haven't, and the other flip side of that in this 401k, it was a gift from the government when they did it originally, but I'm on a crusade so people can learn about how these type of plans will affect their taxes upon distribution, because we've been not paying tax on this money at all. And for many people don't realize they're going to have to pay tax when they take it out. So the IRS just gave us a holiday gift on the Secures Point 2 guidance. And I do like the first option. Beginning in 2023, you're allowed the penalty-free distribution from the IRAs and plans for most of terminal illnesses, which is a good thing. And I do like when the employer provides a match of free money, but I do not like when the employer does not provide a match and it's and it is a taxable event at distribution, and there's the penalty for early withdrawal. So there's my biggest concerns, John.
I have a question.
Sure.
If you are working for a company,
right,
and they have a 401k, but they do not match at all, should you leave the 401k there with them, or should you just take it out and?
I would. That's a good question, because that is a question I get a lot of, and that's a question it's like a two-sided question. One, yes, you want to take it out as fast as possible for many reasons. You don't have good diversification, fees, costs, etc. The other thing, will the company that has and put the plan in place, will they allow you to take that money out? You don't have to be 59 and a half. You can be any age for that matter. All you have to do is roll it over into an IRA and be able to invest it prudently. But what I do, I take it one step even further. I will do that, and I'll say, okay, where are we? Because remember, folks, we are in a marginal and effective tax break environment. So we don't pay, 22 or 25% right away. It's gradual. So I'm a big believer. And right now you could be, because of, again, going back to Trump tax cuts that will expire at the end of 12/31/25, taxes are going to go back up 3% more than what they're paying. But right now, if you're making 100-ish or whatever, you are still in the 22% bracket. So you can make anywhere from $95,000 to $200,000 and still be in the same tax bracket. So I ask people all the time, I said, hold on for a second. You would give your right arm getting a free, guaranteed 3% return without doing nothing. Why don't you do it? Think about what I'm saying to you. Yeah. And we don't know what taxes are going to be down the road. So that's the really big concern of mine. And we'll talk about it at in my workshop.
Okay. Part two of my question.
Sure.
You talk about the importance of not leaving a 401k with your old company.
Correct.
So you're going to leave the company and you're going to go to another company. What are the main benefits of rolling it into a personal IRA?
I'm going to come over and give you a big hug, but most and much more of the investment choices, it's personal attention, John. You don't have to call an 800 number to find out what's happening. You call us. Our team goes into an emergency effect to make sure it's done correctly. There's so many mistakes that things happen, even internally with companies. And they're designed for us. We're designed to rebalance on a quarterly basis to make sure it stays within the risk tolerance of the person. We eliminate hidden fees and found in 401ks and move to a more cost-effective and a tax-efficient strategy. And that being said, you have the ability to work with our firm. And if you need our help, 401ks, and looking at all your things in investments, make sure they are invested properly. John, I've been an advisor for 40 years. Can you believe it? And you don't realize how much you help people. I really don't. I don't give it much thought. I really don't. I just do it out of instincts, bare instincts. But the other day I met with a client I've been working with for about 6 months. And we went through everything from investments to retirement income to legacy planning. Now, this was a 2.5, 3 hour meeting. I mean, it was a long one. And at the end of at the meeting, the woman said to me, which is, you're sitting there, you don't know what she's thinking, but she says, "Why doesn't everyone have a planner like you? I would never know how to handle all these things without your advice." And I said to her, "That's why I do what I do. Everyone needs a Joe or a Lynn or a Michael." So on my question to all of you listening, does that sound like you? That's the question I have to do. So that's a big concern of mine. And if you're serious about retirement, folks, my team and I are going to sit with you personally and create. Now, get this now. This isn't easy peasy to me because I've been doing it. A custom retirement plan for you, which includes the income report, so you can see how much income you need to start with to generate from your savings, as well as run a 401k X-ray, a Roth conversion, and tax planning analysis. Complimentary for those who do with at least $250,000 saved in retirement. So call our office, as John said, at 856-751-1771, 1771, and we will have a conversation about this.
Okay, we got a call,
sure.
And it's your buddy John in Ocean City. John,
hey, John,
welcome back.
I've been listening to you, John. But do me a favor, do not study on the phone. If you start to stutter, I'm having Chris cut you right off. I'm just letting you. I heard you drive in. I'm going, if John talks to me, which I'm hoping to hear his lovely voice, if he starts to stutter, Chris, cut him off. He's been drinking too much today. Go ahead, Johnny.
No, I'll be 8 years sober on February 16th.
I'm proud of you, my man. I'm proud of you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I can control the urge. It was killing me, so I had to stop. Anyway, that's why I stopped. It was killing me. I love to drink, but it don't love me. Right. Anyway, my gosh. I suffer with a lot of disabilities, and if I can get one of the disabilities corrected, now this corrective surgery is not going to be maybe till 2030 they'll be available to me. That's a long way away.
Yeah.
I'm 61 now. Now, when I turn 65 or 67, depending on when I'm officially, of Social Security age,
right?
Can I still get a Roth IRA, or is it always earned income? That's my question. Thanks,
John. All you have to do is make it income. It's automatic all income. If you have old IRAs, we can convert it to a Roth. But if to get a Roth IRA, you need to have a JOB. No matter what you do, you need to have a JOB. You can't have a passive income from real estate. You can't just get it from interest, from a dividend or interest. It has to be ordinary income.
It could be part-time, right?
Part-time. Oh, yeah. I mean, I have
to be.
Believe it or not, somebody's asked me the other day, a client of ours, and said, listen, my son, 15, he made around $1,500 last year in doing odd jobs. I said, can he do a Roth? Yes. Because you can prove he made $1,500. We can't, put the max in at 5,000 or whatever, but we can do a Roth.
You can open it up.
Correct. Open it up and give and put in exactly what he made. That's the point of it.
Right.
And if you make too much, unfortunately, you can't purchase a Roth IRA. But there's a backdoor approach to this. You can take a regular traditional IRA or a 401k or a 403b or a 457 if you're allowed, convert it into an IRA. Then you backdoor gradually into a Roth. And I'm explaining to folks, I said, that's the key element, because when you go and fast forward this and you go into retirement and you do have to pay taxes, because most of the time the kids are older, the house is paid off, et cetera, you're going to be ordinary income tax. And we don't know what your taxes are going to be. So the people that have saved and did a good job, they have targets on their back, because where are they getting the money to pay for these things? I mean, it's going to catch up to us. And I say, and Diamond said from JP Morgan said, listen, the cliff is in front of us. We can see the cliff. He said, and I'm quoting you on this, it's about 60 miles away. And I said, well, to me, that's 100 million people away. That's 10 years, John. 10 years. That means our 34 trillion could easily double.
Yes.
Now what happened?
Yes.
So,
real quick before we take a break.
Sure.
I want to get back to John.
John.
He is, so he's somewhat disabled.
Correct.
he doesn't qualify for an IRA.
Well, no,
he has to get a job.
He has to get a job. But don't forget, because he's disabled, I don't know how bad or good disabled that he might be, John, but John maybe could do a part-time gig doing something. Hey, listen, he could be the way he talked, not today because he was stuttering like no other, but and I got him through that. But if you think John could do something at home, and today at home is like the vogue. I mean, you got to listen. You're not working at home. Like something wrong with you, John. So you're working at home. John, you're way ahead of the curve with working at home, kind of thing. So you can make money working at home.
Right.
There is where you start to save and put into a Roth IRA. And now the flip side, John, is what we do with the money. Where do we invest it? How do we invest it? And they're the things that we have conversations with you about.
We have a lot more to talk about here on the Joe Yakovich Hour here on Talk with a Purpose. It is Joe Yakovich. He's from JML Financial. We're going to talk about the seminar again. We're going to talk about some books, and maybe we'll talk to you at 609-407-1450. I'm John DeMasi with Joe Yakovich. We are both coming back after these words.
You're invited to attend a very important and informative seminar Tuesday, February 6th and Tuesday, February 13th at 6 p.m. at the Stockton University Campus Center, Meeting Room 5. The seminar will feature Joe Yakovich, host of The Heart of Your Money, heard right here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Joe will discuss tax management and income strategies in retirement. And of course, we'll answer any and all of your questions. Stay informed and up to date. Attend this important seminar Tuesday, February 6th and Tuesday, February 13th at 6 p.m. at the Stockton University Campus Center, Meeting Room 5. You can register online. Simply go to jmlfinancialgroup.com and click on the link. See you at the seminar. If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently #1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. Or, if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at LexusOfAtlanticCity.com.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. We've got a thick cloud cover this afternoon with I-52. Cloudy tonight, becoming rainy with low dip at a 40. Breezy tomorrow with rain. Could end up as wet snow late night into early Monday. High tomorrow 48. Breezy with occasional rain tomorrow night, low 37. Monday, snow and rain early in the morning, then mostly cloudy and breezy with high 45. I'm AccuWeather's Ruth O'Brien on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
We are back here on Talk with a Purpose, and of course Joe Yakovich is with us. Now, I mean, Joe's got so many things going on. He has got several books.
Right.
And if you would like any or all of them, you just call here and Joe's office will contact you and mail it out. The books are The Heart of Your Money, Bulletproof Your Financial Plan, Wealth Beyond Taxes, and Debt Free for Life. All reference how to generate tax-free income and generate wealth. That's all you have to do is call here right now if you want the books. Feel free. And easy reads.
Yes.
And I've read them all, and they are very informative.
They're under 100, like 100 pages down, but I found that if you write something really like a couple hundred pages, people don't read those things. But if you have it where you can get on a plane and go from here to Pittsburgh and say, you know what, I can get that book in, and it's easy read, it has pictures, but I'll tell you something else I did, and even somebody picked up on that. Your type is large. I said, yeah, I went to a restaurant the other day, nice, good, great place.
I can't read the menu.
I go, and it's dark. I brought the owner over. I go, do me a favor, what am I going to do here? You tell me what I should order because I can't read your menu. So,
big print on Joe's books.
Right.
And also, Joe is doing a couple of seminars. You can attend, because they're both the same, so you can attend one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday, February 6th Tuesday, February 13th, 6 p.m., Stockton University's Campus Center Meeting Room 5. Joe is going to talk about tax management, income strategies in retirement, and, of course, the questions that you may have, he'll answer them. So that's you want to register, all you have to do. Joe makes it so simple for you. You go to the website, jmlfinancialgroup.com, and they have a link there to the registration for the seminar. That's it.
They have one for this show, too, John.
Yeah.
And our podcast.
It's so simple.
Yep. We made it real simple.
Aren't you glad your son's in the business?
Finally.
Yes. Because if you would have had to do it, forget it.
I can barely turn the
or
computer
me,
on. Yes. You know how it works.
Yeah. So, okay. We're continuing with our discussion of tax planning and all kinds of stuff. Tax implications on doing a rollover, are there any or what?
Well, there's no tax implications if done correctly, mind you. You must open up an IRA account first. So just remember that. If you're going to move money from a 401k or what have you, you need to have the other account open so they can be the receiving firm. So just be aware of that, because if you don't do it correctly, it could be lost in space someplace. So you must open that account up and make sure the accounts are titled properly, don't forget. So that's important.
Okay, what options do you have? Let's say people have a 401k. They're still working for the company, but they want to self-direct, get their own IRA.
Correct.
Well, what do you have? What do you do?
Again, it depends on the company, because some companies will allow us to do that, but most will allow you to transfer your account out so you can manage your own IRA. Understand that. It's a little tedious, but it's not that difficult if done correctly, and we handle that from start to finish. Some will not until you retire, unfortunately, but in that case, we may be able to implement what we call a self-direct brokerage account inside your 401k, so you can invest with more of a diversified portfolio of funds, which are typically not available in 401ks. Remember, John, we talked about the sequels of return conversation all the time. And think about it. If you're in a portfolio and you lose 50% on your portfolio one year, what do you have to make to break even? Remember we talked about that?
Yes, you got to make 100%.
And my question becomes, how long do you think that 100% will be made? How many years?
Oh, geez, it would take you many, many years.
Correct. So if I'm talking to somebody that's a 60 or 62-year-old, it might be in their 70s by the time
maybe 80.
Correct. So that's a major concern of mine.
How do you determine the best investments to choose when you're transferring to a self-directed IRA?
Well, that's a great question, John. There's a few things we need to do first. First, which I asked the client, what keeps you up at night? And I talked to a lot of people about that situation. What's the biggest concern to prepare a full-blown risk assessment of the person? I need to know how they feel about risk. Some people are okay with it. And secondly, you really need to look at all their investments, not just the 401k correctly portfolio. So if you have some money that's sitting in cash or cash equivalent, you need to find out this way up front so you can make sure you make the right decisions with the person in mind. And you start to talk about money out, because you need to look at, for instance, Social Security, passive income, pensions, dividend income, and so forth. So we need to put together a budget of living expenses to determine the amount that you need on a monthly basis. And we don't look at the big picture. That's what we're looking at. We're not just going in there with, one vehicle fits everyone the same. That's not the case. You need to customize what's happening, because of our global economy is not what it was 40 years ago, John. It's amazing that the fact that I'm in this business as long as I have, and I still have a passion for it, but there's a lot of things that changed. Legality issues, tax issues. How Social Security is changing, when you can take it, and that could also be lengthier. RMD, require minimum distribution, what your minimum year you can take it, or what the maximum year you can take it. But we look at everything. We look at the big picture to max out your retirement plan and make adjustments as needed. But John, let's face it, if I have a person or a couple that's in great shape, and they're working, I'm going to be the first one to talk to them about when they do pick the option of Social Security, which is a big payment for them. Should they go at 62? Should they go at 65? Should they go at 67? Should they go at 70? So all these things come into play when you're talking about an income strategy.
If they're in good shape, you would probably tell them to wait.
Absolutely,
right?
Because they're still working possibly or doing something on a part-time basis. Because once they make that decision, they can't reverse it. So we talk to them about that.
Okay, so now you have all of this stuff in a taxable investment.
Correct.
How do you convert it to a Roth?
Well, first of all, the Roth conversion can be this is the crazy part, especially effective right now because we are in the lowest tax environment. So we can take advantage of the lower tax rates, but also reduce these growing taxable IRA balances, ideally to do this before you start your required minimum distribution. Think about it. You want to do it before you have to have the requirement RMD, we call it. And this is very helpful if you inherit an IRA. If you're a spouse, you can convert it to a Roth. But if you're not, you're going to be eligible to make a contribution to a Roth. And as an employee, you can use this to fund this. Again, it depends on, and the reason why I say this to all and everyone is because the government is kind of setting us up. Because if husband and wife exchange IRAs, one passes, the IRA will go to that individual, the spouse. But the problem that we're faced with, and no one ever thinks about this, is that if they want to leave an inheritance to their children, this is where people need to really start to understand that money will be given to the children upon the last person's death, which is the mom or dad. But when they receive that, they must spend that money and take that money out of the account within 10 years. They have a 10-year window. That's all they have. Now, the problem I'm faced with is that where will taxes be in the future? So you forced your children to take the money out not only in 10 years, but you also forced them in a higher tax bracket. There's no more RMDs anymore. They have to take the money out. And by doing so, guess what? They pay taxes on their income. So my strategy is real simple. If the folks did a Roth IRA while they were still alive and the kids received the money, guess what they can do? There's still a 10-year, but guess what they can do? They can defer the money for 10 years. Don't worry about it because it's all building up. What? Tax-free. 1 year, take all the money out and pay no tax.
That's beautiful.
So it's a conversation that people need to be aware of. And a lot of folks in my space it's an oversight for them. For me, that's a conversation along other conversations I'm having with my clients.
I want to ask you.
Sure.
Why is the government making it so confusing when it comes to advice and all of that? There's so many rules and so many little caveats. Do you have any answers for that?
You know what, John? Think about the information I just shared with you. Why would you put all your savings in 401ks or qualified plans knowing you'll be taxed on ordinary income tax in the future? Why would you put all your eggs in one basket? And when your children inherit these accounts, they're going to end up paying the largest amount of taxes. That's what the government wants us to do. The government is setting us up so we pay more tax. And the lady we had on the first call, she worked all these years hard. And what she's going to happen, because she didn't know any better, she did a good job, they're going to tax her on all the things that she worked hard on. And she's the target because of what's happened. So you should have a multi-layers of investment type of account. So when you do this, start your distribution phase of retirement, you will have a better option, John. Now think about it, to withdraw your income effectively. And that's the think about that. That's the most important thing. The qualified plans we just talked about, great. But hopefully your company gave you a match, even better. But if they didn't, this is tax. And I talk to people about this all the time. I talked about taxes. Investing is a keen way to, set that person in motion of giving them vehicles and strategies so they don't get hurt by the market. But if they're being taxed on the money, and because their lifestyle, and I'm a big lifestyle guy. You're a lifestyle guy. You want your lifestyle to be nice and better as you retire because you did all these years of working your butt off. Want to have a good lifestyle. And by paying more tax which we do not know what it's going to be. Because think about it, John. I'm just curious. All the snow we received. By the way, just to let you know, I live in a beautiful area. We all know Ventnor. I remember the last snow, they plowed my boardwalk. They didn't plow my boardwalk this time. I'm thinking to myself, why didn't they plow my boardwalk?
Probably didn't have the money.
Correct. So what I'm saying to you, it's just not the Fed, it's the state and the municipalities that are starting to get pinched. Your services are going to go down, not up. And people need to recognize that. So what we do, we sit with you, design a plan so these things can be prevented. And they can be prevented if they're done correctly. It's just not a set it and forget it. What we call the guy Pope, remember?
Ron Popeil.
Ron Popeil, right? Set it and forget it. Well, this is not a set it and forget it strategy. This is a continuously conversation like I talked to you about before. We talk to our clients minimally once a year. And we sit down and show them exactly their X-ray, their MRI on what they have going on and how they're going to continue to move in the future.
Okay, we are coming up on our final break of the morning, and that means you have a couple of minutes left to call in here at 609-407-1450 if you have a financial-type question for Joe Yakovich. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi with Joe Yakovich, and we are coming back with some final thoughts on today's Talk with a Purpose and the Joe Yakovich Hour right after these words.
Joe Yakovich is registered with and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. Member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com.
And we are back here on Talk with a Purpose. And again, if you want to reach Joe Yakovich during the week, 856-751-1771. Again, that's 856-751-1771. And his website, jmlfinancialgroup.com. jmlfinancialgroup.com. You can check that out because there's a link to the seminar coming up, and you can just click on that and you're there. It's that simple. You're registered. 609-407-1450, a couple minutes left. Joe Yakovich is here, and before we get back into what we were talking about, we had a listener email me and said to ask Joe about the central bank controlling the digital currency.
I feel like, what's the guy's name? The wrestler? Woo! What's his name?
Hulk Hogan?
No, the other guy.
No.
You know,
Randy Savage?
No, come on, Randy Savage. Would you?
Ric Flair?
Ric Flair. That's what I feel like, Ric Flair with that one. You know what? Central banks and digital currency. I'm concerned because what's happening right now, a lot of us don't know this. That's kind of a secret, and what I read and what I'm knowing to be, you know, that's a concern of all of us because they're going to try to manipulate the dollar and control the money. How fast that's going to happen, folks, I don't know, but I think all of us should be in tune with it, understand it, study a little bit of it because it could happen to us. One day they said, listen, we're going to go and start to make that transfer. And the reason why, because our dollar has been devalued dramatically over the last 20 years. This is not just Republican and Democrat. This is in general situation. And the other thing that you and I talked about all the time, John, is that if inflation raises its ugly head again, which it has been, on top of what we're talking about with portfolio management and type of ways that we can prevent some of these things from hurting people, when you add in that inflationary number and when you add in the fact that taxes are upon us and you're seeing it happen, this is what's being squeezed. Correct.
All right, we have a caller, Greg in Absecon. And Greg, you're on with Joe Yakovich. What's on your mind?
Hey, Greg.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Damasi. Mr. Yakovich, question. Government. I don't know if you get involved in this or not. So we have states in the United States that charge no taxes whatsoever.
Correct.
We live in a state that seems to borrow everything, everything, and then they go into the lock boxes and take that out. You know, like they borrowed into the teacher or the unions.
Yes.
The retirement funds. What is one doing versus the other as far as spending habits?
I'm going to give you a website that you can go into. I like the website we use a month, and they're all public website. The one I use for the debt clock and the deficit and so forth is called the USDebtClock.org. You can get it. Just type it in right now or anytime. And when you do this, looking at it, just make sure you can hover over what that number is, and it will tell you up top what that situation is and how it functions. But the other one that you're talking about, it's called, you're ready for this one, it's called Wage Statistics. Wage Statistics. And if you do a little search and such, you'll look at all the states, and are you ready for this? 50. We have gotten an F, as in Frank, on our budget in New Jersey.
Oh, I believe it.
Pennsylvania is close to, I think, 48. So you'll start to see the issues that we're faced with in the spending habits that were promised, and that's what's happening. That's why you hear, you can't tax, you can't live in our state, then you can't afford the tax. Okay, well, that's why people are leaving.
Yeah.
So there's some things that we need to start to do some due diligence on and make ourselves smart to these things.
Okay, let's see how good you are.
Yes.
Can you answer this question in 2 minutes? Less than 2 minutes. Are there alternatives to save for retirement other than qualified plans?
Well, yes. Matter of fact, somebody just called me on this. Yes, you can put a qualified IRA, believe it or not, in a piece of real estate.
Oh, good.
Self-direct IRA in a piece of real estate. Now, understand there's a couple things you need to be aware of. There's a little bit of a tedious way to do it and get out of it. But you can do that. There are alternatives to just put money into the stock market, mind you. So I want people to be aware of that. It's one of many. And then you can do private placement things, and you can do private equity things. But we are still, because we're dealing with folks that are in their 60s and 70s and are comfortable of understanding how pensions work. So some of the money that we talk to people about, we give them a pension type of vehicle so they can continuously have an income that they can't outlive, and everything's transportable to the next person on a beneficiary state.
That's going to put the wraps on another edition of Talk with a Purpose. Joe Yakovich available during the week, 856-751-1771. Check out his website, jmlfinancialgroup.com, jmlfinancialgroup.com. A lot of good stuff on that. I'm John DeMasi. Thanks to Chris Coleman, our program director and producer. Thanks to Joe Yakovich for coming in and sharing with us for the hour.
My pleasure.
Most importantly, thanks to you for listening, because without you, we don't have a show. It's that simple. Have yourself a great week. We'll talk to you next Saturday, 9 till noon. Talk with a Purpose. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You take care.
The preceding program was paid for and presented by John DeMasi.